Chapter 801 You're in trouble. That's right, he is under the protection of Shajir-Ching, but he has to be linked to the world government. It can be said that he has two boats. It is normal for Shajir-Ching to be dissatisfied. Yes, I want to fight, I can't let Otahime's efforts go to waste. Although Shajir-Ching's eyes were a bit attractive, Nipton still answered with a bold face. Preparation with both hands is also good, but you should also understand the hardships of the process. Given your current situation, there should be no need to do so. Shajir-Ching sighed and said, when the world government attends the meeting, you may not have the power to protect yourself. Fishman and mermaid are now the hottest goods in the sea. Besides, the kings of the major kingdoms on the land who are afraid of you may not be willing to accept you, and your desire to live in peace with human beings may not be realized. Hearing Shajir-Ching's words, Nipton also sighed and said, I know what you said, but we still need to take this step. This is my wish. Seeing that Shajir-Ching was not so angry, Nipton couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. It is harmful to Fishman Island to be in a relationship with the Ching of Sha. Hey, as you like. However, kindness needs to be sharp. You can't just endure and retreat, it will only make others think you are easy to bully. Shajir-Ching looked at Nipton, this is a good man, he doesn't act sharp at all. If you join the world government with this mentality, there will be no scum left to be eaten. I see, thanks for the reminder. Hearing Shajir-Ching's words, Nipton was stunned for a moment, and then said gratefully. Come, have a drink, and I'll give you a toast. The atmosphere that I saw became relaxed again, and the shark star immediately made a sound, which enlivened the atmosphere. After 3 rounds of wine, you will be full of food and drink. Next, it's time to deal with that guy. It affects my drinking and scares my bakesing. It's really daring. Seeing Shajir-Ching standing up with a sunny smile, everyone present couldn't help feeling a chill. Being targeted by this guy is not a good thing. They couldn't help but hold a few seconds of silence for Van D. Duncan IX in their hearts. On a small boat in the distance of Fishman Island, a wretched 4-legged fishman suddenly shivered for no reason. He is not Sumi Yang's target, Van D. Duncan IX. What's the matter with this sudden cold feeling behind my back? Why do I feel a little flustered? He felt a little bit of hair on his back, and this feeling made him very uncomfortable. Fishman Island, who can make me feel this way? Inexplicably, a smiling face appeared in his head, and when he thought of this face, he couldn't help shivering. This face once gave him endless fear, so that he didn't dare to close his eyes, and he was almost tortured crazy. Later, God finally opened his eyes. That person was besieged by Marine, his life and death were unknown, and there was no news for 2 years. He cheered and jumped up and down, no news for 2 years, it must be dead. Then, forgetting that person's warning again, he started playing with Princess Shirahoshi's idea. It's just, I don't know if it's because of being scared out of the psychological shadow. Recently, he has often dreamed of that man in his dreams, the face that brought him endless fear. Every time, he can be scared into a cold sweat and can't sleep at night. For fear that the next moment, that person will appear in front of you again. No, that man is already dead, how can he reappear? Van D. Duncan shook his head, shook off the unrealistic thoughts in his head, and looked at the Fishman Island in the distance, as if he saw through Dragon Palace City and Shirahoshi. Shirahoshi, you're mine, I'll get you, with you, I can rule the world. The sinister issue of Van D. Duncan IX has a treacherous look on his face. Brother, what is it that makes me laugh so happily that it makes me laugh? At this time, a voice came from behind him. Van D. Duncan IX sneered. Hey, I will get Princess Shirahoshi soon, and then I can dominate the world, how can I be unhappy? Before Van D. Duncan finished speaking, he stopped slowly, cold sweat broke out suddenly, and his pupils slowly shrank. He is the only one on this boat, who is this extra voice? Moreover, let him have no sense at all, so a little too powerful. He turned around in awe, and saw a terrifying face that appeared in his dreams countless times. At this moment, he stood in front of him with such a smile. "How is it possible? How is it possible that you are still alive?" Fandy Duncan's voice was sharp, and he screamed and backed away in fright. "What, you were surprised to see me?" Vandy Duncan the Ninth. Looking at the terrified and sweaty Duncan the Ninth, Shajur Ching's smiling eyes were gone. But Duncan the Ninth only felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar, and his whole body was stiff. All the fears of the past came to my mind one by one. You, Duncan the Ninth was so frightened that he couldn't say it clearly. "Why, I was surprised to see me." Shajur Ching walked towards Duncan the Ninth, and Fandy Duncan the Ninth retreated directly to the corner of the ship, trembling uncontrollably. "Why are you here?" Duncan the Ninth looked like he had seen a ghost, watching Shajur Ching extremely nervous. "Why can't I be here?" Shajur Ching looked at Duncan the Ninth and smiled happily. "I heard that you were disturbing the peace of my sister Shirahoshi. Why do you think this head doesn't want to stay on your neck?" Shajur Ching's eyes were like knives as he swept around Duncan the Ninth's neck, and he was frightened when he saw it. He had the feeling that his head was about to be chopped off by Shajur Ching. "Nothing, you must have heard it wrong. How could I have hit Shirahoshi's idea? You must have heard it wrong. It's too late for me to protect her. How can I disturb her peace?" Duncan the Ninth wiped the cold sweat from his head, trembling again and again. This man Shajur Ching was so terrifying that he didn't have the courage to fight at all. "Oh, so, when I was drinking just now, all the movements were fake. If I remember correctly, that kind of huge axe attack seems like only you can do it." Shajur Ching looked at Duncan the Ninth, fiddled with his fingers, and said with a chilling murderous intention in his tone. No, then how could I do it?" Duncan the Ninth waved his hands quickly, panicking. "Forget it, it doesn't make any sense to continue acting with you. It's a scourge to keep someone like you, so please go to sleep." Shajur Ching put away his smiling face, pulled out the fire sword from his waist, and murderous intent boiled over. Chapter 802 Come Back to Sabayati. When Duncan the Ninth saw this, his eyes suddenly darkened, and he said, "It's really too hard to be like this. He, Duncan the Ninth, is not a master who can be needed. Kill me and Fishman Island will be destroyed, you better think about it." He believed that Shajur Ching had a clear distinction between the priorities, so that even if he wanted to be detrimental to himself, he would have to weigh them. HMPH, Fishman Island destroyed. You take yourself too seriously. Shajur Ching disdained Isho, and with a flash of cold light, the long sword stabbed at Duncan the Ninth's chest. "Then let's die together." Duncan the Ninth shouted fiercely, and suddenly there were several more muskets in his hand, and all of them pulled the trigger. Humph! In the face of the surging bullets, Shajur Ching's figure flickered, and all the bullets were dodged. Then, his Sherinian glared, and the Sherinian illusion was released. No! Duncan the Ninth's pupils suddenly dilated. Shajur Ching withdrew the knife and stood with contempt at the corner of his mouth. "Just because you are also equipped with stray fire to kill, I am afraid that the knife will be dirty. You will become my puppet, run according to my ideas, forever guard Noah's Ark, and guard Fishman Island." Looking at Duncan the Ninth again, his expression was sullen and he lost his sense of autonomy. Under the order of Duncan the Ninth to guard Fishman Island, Shajur Ching left. "How is it resolved?" When Shajur Ching returned to Fishman Island, Neptune looked at Shajur Ching with great anticipation and asked. It was about the safety and freedom of his daughter, and he naturally took it to heart. "You should have guessed it by looking at my relaxed expression." Shajur Ching was confident in Isho after hearing this, then picked up the wine glass on the table and drank it. It's still cold and cold. In the past, there was Wenju to kill Washong, and now Shajur Ching ice wine flattened Duncan. The same is passed on as a fairy tale. Okay, great. Hearing Shajur Ching's answer, Neptune couldn't help but shouted okay, and then raised his glass to respect Shajur Ching. "Thank you so much, the kindness is beyond repayment." Neptune revealed his true feelings, and his face was full of emotion. If it wasn't because Shajur-Ching just regarded Shirahoshi as his sister, Shajur-Ching would have wanted to marry Shirahoshi to Shajur-Ching. I believe that it must be a very beneficial thing to have a quick son-in-law like Shajur-Ching. Shajur-Ching stayed on Fishman Island for 2 days, and after accompanying Shirahoshi to some places she wanted to go, she left. Big brother Shajur-Ching, be sure to visit Shirahoshi often. Shirahoshi bid farewell to Shajur-Ching with teary eyes, which made Shajur-Ching smile bitterly. He will have more time to see Shirahoshi in the future. Everything is ready. Next, wait for the 4th guiding stone to appear. When he returned to the sea again, Shajur-Ching was already in the windless zone. In the next time, it's time for him to hide and cultivate for a while. 2 years later, everyone, let's see you again. Shajur-Ching looked at the vast sky and sea, and could not help but feel a sense of pride in her heart. When he came to this world, he never thought that he would have such achievements as he is today. His original idea was to live well. As for the secret of the world, he never thought about the final place. But now, he wants to know the truth of the world, covet the secrets of the final land, and want to get the One Piece. Sure enough, people's desires will change, and greed is the best embodiment of human nature. After such a sigh, Shajur-Ching slowly disappeared into the windless zone. New World. Batong Wan, how's the line of defense? A young man with red hair was holding a phone bug with a Kainu's characteristics in his hand, and a Kainu's slightly hurried voice came from the phone bug. Don't worry, Master Marshal, of course there is no problem. Make sure to complete the task exactly. Batong Pil Isho relaxed and said nonchalantly. Hearing his answer, a Kainu's dissatisfied expression was perfectly conveyed through the phone bug. I really want to try Shajur-Ching's strength. Although Kaido is indeed quite powerful, it is still not as strong as I imagined. Only a strong person like Shajur-Ching is the attitude that a strong person should have in my imagination. This Batong Wan actually wanted to provoke Shajur-Ching. I advise you to get rid of this idea. Of course, if you want to court death, I didn't say such a thing. A Kainu's gloomy words came from the phone bug, full of warnings. Enla, Master Marshal, I know the importance. Then I asked to be stationed at the Sabayati archipelago, you must agree. Batongmaru asked, his eyes full of cunning. Sabayati archipelago is not far from Hydra Island. Maybe I will meet Shajur-Ching. If Shajur-Ching knew that she was being targeted, I don't know how it would feel. According to his words, it should be, oops, what a headache, what a panic. However, it is unclear how credible this statement is. Where is Shajur-Ching at this moment? He didn't go on with things anymore. Instead go on vacation. According to Shajur-Ching himself, there is nothing to do anyway, it is better to take a good vacation and rest. And their vacation place, unfortunately, is in the Sabayati archipelago. No way, this is a paradise for vacation, and the business here is too developed. Almost everything that can be produced on the sea can be seen here. Again, there are all kinds of things women want here. Although its own is one of the largest business groups. However, after all, they are just a group, and the specific objects can only be seen in various offline physical stores. As one of the largest gathering places of brick-and-mortar stores in the first half of the Great Airline, Sabayati Archipelago is naturally a very good choice. Shajur-Ching has not come here to relax for a long time. Okay, let's go and play, you don't need to accompany me here. As soon as he came to the business district, the man Shajur-Ching was disliked. The person who spoke was naturally Anna. She directly put Shajur-Ching aside, and led Hancock, Robin, and Nami several girls into the business district humming a little song. Ah, this is a bit out of the way. Shajur-Ching scratched his head with a wry smile, then shook his head and left helplessly. My little brother is so fortunate to be able to win the favor of 4 beautiful girls. It's really a blessing. The shopkeepers around were joking like this. Brother's means are really high. Even if you enjoy the blessings of all people, can you teach your little brother some of these skills? There are also tourists around the single dog who look at Shajur Ching with admiration and ask for advice. Go, you'll be teasing me. Shajur Ching's head was full of black lines. Then, he walked in the direction of Aunt Xiao's ripping bar. Chapter 803 I am so lucky. Alas, the current Sabayati archipelago is not good, damn it. Who said it wasn't? Alas, the marine headquarters moved to the New World, now those pirates can be unscrupulous. Yeah, although it is difficult for Tenryubito to come here again, those pirates are the ones that threaten us the most. Walking on the street, under the seemingly prosperous scene, there is a deep sadness hidden. Feasting, singing and dancing, but also cannot hide the anxiety in the air. It would be great if it could be like the branch of the Summer Chamber of Commerce. With the headquarters of the Summer Chamber of Commerce covered, no pirates dare to mess around. The owner of a fruit shop looked enviously at a small shop across from him and said so. Unfortunately, we are not that lucky. If it can be related to your Summer Chamber of Commerce, what if I pay 10,000 baileys every month? I also recognize it. The owner of a seafood restaurant sighed, very disappointed. In Sabayati archipelago, you also need to pay marine, 10,000 baileys per month. But this 1 bailey cannot exchange for absolute safety. After all, Sabayati archipelago is the entrance to the New World, and there are too many pirates gathered here. There are too many strong ones. In the past, there was a deterrent that the marine headquarters was nearby, and those unruly pirates didn't dare to do anything, but now. Marlene Van Du's prestige has plummeted since becoming AG1 branch. Although Marine sent a branch here and established a pacifist corps. However, this kind of deterrence is too low for those newcomers who are unruly and have not yet known the horrors of the world. Only Marine Admiral can deter them. Therefore, although Marine Van Du became the G1 branch, it has only been less than half a month. However, the law and order of Sabayati archipelago began to become chaotic. Vice Admiral, who stayed here, couldn't hold back these reckless pirates. It is unimaginable that 2 months ago, this place was in good order. After all, the top battle just started 2 months ago. It seems that this is also a business opportunity. Shajur Ching, rubbing her chin, thought so in her heart. Then, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He took out a phone bug from his arms and got through. Sky Island. Yes, I see. I'll send someone over right away. Gilzer put down the phone bug in his hand and sent Bentham out. As for what it is naturally the matter of discussing those bosses. Didn't they want to be sheltered by the Summer Chamber of Commerce, then Shajur Ching would satisfy them soon. This is what Shajur Ching likes to do the most. Naturally, these bosses didn't know that they and Shajur Ching passed by like this. Naturally, I didn't know the complaints of myself and others, so I thought about it and executed it. They were still sighing inwardly, and then, when the guests arrived, they resumed their smiling faces, and it was no more than a second to change their faces. Shajur Ching continued going. And at the same time, area number 65. By a port. Is this the Sabayati archipelago? It's a bustling place, not bad, I like it. Batong Maru looked at the scenery in front of him with a look of satisfaction. Next, you can't be as lazy as you used to be. Next, we will carry the safety of hundreds of thousands of people on our shoulders. We must do our duty and not take it lightly. Behind Batamaru, there was a man wearing a bellyband and looking at a huge axe. There was a bit of sharpness in his voice. Well, don't be so strict, Zon Taomaru. Batongmaru said to the man in the bellyband, his face full of laziness. It turned out that the man in the apron was Zon Taomaru. You are exactly the same as the old man. I really don't understand why you have been lazy for so long. It's not good to be serious. In the face of Batong Wan's laziness, Zon Dao Wan complained very dissatisfiedly. The two are finally here, and the old man can finally breathe a sigh of relief. On the shore, there was already a Marine Vice Admiral waiting with a relaxed look on his face. Let him deal with so many pirates alone, he is really overwhelmed. After all, he is more suitable for management positions than fighting. Don't worry, leave the combat to us, Kur's Vice Admiral will take care of the management, and we're not good at these things anyway. Batongmaru said with a smile, and the Vice Admiral named Kurz nodded repeatedly. Let me see what kind of surprise the elites from the seas from all over the world can bring me. Don't let me down, everyone. Batongmaru licked his lips with a warlike expression on his face. It's time for the Hepanist troops to let the world see our strength. You rubbish in the sea, this is not a place for you to run wild. Zontaomaru looked at the distant sea, with hot flames burning in his eyes. Hey, interesting, I didn't expect to be able to sense this level of aura here, it's really time for me to come. Batongmaru suddenly showed infinite fighting intent, that violent aura, like a fierce beast, was startling. I'll go first, Zontaomaru, I'll find you later. After he finished speaking, Ba Tongwan actually took a step forward and disappeared from his sight while Zondaowan shouted, Hello. This guy, what the hell is going on? Centaomaru released observation haki, but I didn't feel any abnormality. No way, he's not very good at observation haki, he's only good at armament haki. So, what did Batongwan sense? It's really exciting, I didn't expect my luck to be so good. This kind of breath, can't go wrong, this is definitely the breath of a strong man. This feeling that makes my cells tremble is really exciting. This kind of excitement, he had only felt it on the 4 Admiral and Marshal Akainu in the headquarters before. Looks like I really got my wish. I said I wanted to compete with Shui Tong, and I actually met him. In the vicinity of Sabayati Archipelago, the breath of Admiral, the Marshal, and the person who popped out of Batongwan's head for the first time was Shajirching. Only he can have this kind of breath. Shajirching is here. Little devil, use your life to borrow some money to spend, don't you mind? Looking at the big man who was at least 3 meters tall in front of him, Shajirching looked at his fierce expression, raised his hand and said, Era, it's really scary, if I don't pay, will I be killed? An LT, P and GT. As the saying goes, if you often walk by the river, how can you not get your shoes wet? Although he is now, no drop of water, but it does not affect the great devil Shajirching's heart to play, and play with these people. Chapter 804 Batong Pill is coming. Kazaru Borsellino can. One bite is terrible, one kick is a supernova, why can't he Shajirching? Although this person in front of him is not a supernova. But it doesn't matter. Play it, the picture is to have fun. As for the knife this big man put on his neck, he didn't take it seriously at all. HMPH, boy, you're quite the way. Yes, if you make our brothers unhappy, we can't guarantee that your life will be yours. This big man lowered his body and leaned in front of Shajirching, showing his big yellow teeth, and said with a stench. But what if I say no? Shajirching raised her head and grinned Isho, her face full of provocation. The big man's face suddenly turned gloomy. Such a little devil with no power to tie a chicken, dare to provocate him. It is bearable, and it is unbearable. PFF'd, this fool actually provoked the captain, it's really an old birthday star who eats arsenic and seeks death. Gia, kid, our captain is a big pirate with a bounty of 75 million Baileys. Killing you is as easy as squeezing a chicken. If you don't want to die, you'd better kneel down and apologize immediately. The younger brothers beside the big man also sneered, with a look on their faces that didn't seem like a big deal. Hearing their words, Shajirching not only was not afraid, but smiled. The little brother at the back, I bid 100 million Bailey, you help me kill him. Hearing these words, the big man hurriedly looked behind him, but there was no one there. He was immediately annoyed and shouted, Little devil, you dare to make me happy, I want you. Before he could finish speaking, his younger brother exclaimed, Boss, be careful. What? Before he could react, a huge hole was opened in his chest, and a cold voice came, 9 dark claws. Ho! The sudden severe pain made his consciousness blurred all of a sudden, he fell to the ground heavily, and his 7 orifices bleed to death. Asshole! Facing this sudden change, this big man's younger brother was instantly angry, and all looked at the murderer and went away. Then, they couldn't help but shrink their pupils. The person I saw was dressed in a Vice Admiral Marine robe, with long red hair, exuding an indescribable sense of oppression. Marine Vice Admiral. This group of people was completely frightened, and their voices trembled. It's okay to let them bully those Marines. Marine Vice Admiral, an existence that can easily suppress and kill them. Moreover, the one in front of them, they also know each other. Vice Admiral of Marine Headquarters, Red Ogre Batong Maru why are here. One of them pointed at the person who came, this red-haired young man. The crotch of fear was wet, and the smell of fishy was extremely pungent. He was terrified. What, is that the Batong Maru who killed the 400 million bounty pirate Kubela? Hearing this, the rest of the people shivered in fright, their lips turned white, as if they were all emptied of all their strength, they couldn't move at all when they stood there. In the dark, many pirates were attracted by Batong Maru, with vigilance in their eyes. They all want to know what a Marine Vice Admiral like Batongwan wants to do when he comes here at this time. Oh, did you recognize me? Since you know I'm scary, why don't you face him anymore? Provoking him is more serious than provoking me. Batong Maru said with a playful smile. Seeing these pale-faced pirates shaking like a sieve of chaff, their faces were dazed. He laughed like a demon. This one is the Emperor of the New World, Shui Tong Shajirqing. What? Hearing the 3 words of Shajirqing, these people were so frightened that they fell to the ground, and their pupils shrank into a ball. They only felt an endless coolness digging into their pores, and the cold sweat immediately wet their bodies, sweating like rain. This is really scary. Emperor of the New World, this is a name enough to make them lose any courage. And now, he is standing in front of him. When they thought that they had threatened the Emperor just now, they felt their hearts would twitch and spasm. The body is even more unstoppable, trembling in fear. Even if Shajirqing has not admitted his identity yet, will Marine Vice Admiral Batong Wan admit the wrong person? Of course not. My luck is really good, to meet a strong man like you here. Come on, Shajirqing, fight me. Batong Maru took off his robe with great excitement, clenched his fists and made a fighting stance. It's boring to reveal your identity, Batong Wan. Why is this necessary? Shajirqing sighed, looked at these terrified pirates who had become muddy, and said, I'm not interested in fighting monsters like you. You should go home with those monsters in Marine Headquarters. Hit it. Having said that, Shajirqing is about to leave, and he has no intention of doing anything at all. Hey, Shajirqing, that's not what your expression said. Your eyes are full of fighting intent. Batong Maru's voice sounded from behind Shajirqing, and it was an extremely powerful punch. Baji collapse. Bang. No one saw how Shajirqing turned around, and Batong Wan's fist collided with him. Boom. The ground beneath the two of them burst open, and the sea water surged up. Very good strength, almost catching up with a guy like Kaido. You are very strong. Shajirqing looked at the excited Batong Pill in front of him and praised loudly. At the center of the fight between the two, storms and waves erupted violently, knocking the pirates who were secretly observing them back a lot. Cut, 2 monsters, someone scolded and ran away. Then, Rangkyaku Tempest Kick. Shajirqing raised his feet indifferently, and a violent sword wave flew out. The forced Batong Maru couldn't help but change his face, and immediately retreated. You lost, Batong Wan. When Batong Wan just landed, Shajirqing's voice came from behind him. Batong Maru's pupils shrank, and then he noticed that Shajirqing in front of him had disappeared. I didn't lose. But Batong Maru didn't intend to end the battle just like that. He came from a long way, and it ended like this, wouldn't it be too boring? Ability. Iron power, on! Batong Wan shouted violently, and his breath suddenly became several times manic. An extremely fast iron rod flew out from behind him, piercing Shajur-Ching. But of course this can't help Shajur-Ching, but Batong Wan never thought that he could hurt Shajur-Ching by this. His purpose is to force Shajur-Ching back. It doesn't have the aura of devil fruit ability, but it has the ability of an ability person, which is a bit interesting. Looking at the batong pill wrapped in a strange pattern on his body, Shajur-Ching smiled. Chapter 805. The movement is a bit louder. Now is my real state. Shajur-Ching, come on, fight to your heart's content. Batong Maru took a step forward, and the ground exploded. He roared like an arrow from the string, that heavy aura of power. Even Shajur-Ching couldn't help but be a little surprised. Bang! He punched out, emission hockey released, and collided with Batong Maru across the space. But it turned out to be like hitting the metal, and suddenly there was a crisp sound of gold and iron. Sand and iron palm. Batong Wan shouted and slapped his hands together. Shajur-Ching felt a strange fluctuation on it. That kind of fluctuation, thick, violent, makes people feel very uncomfortable. Boom! The fists and palms collided, sparks splashed, exciting and intense, the air waves were continuous, and the shaking sea surface was full of waves. To be able to fight on a par with Shajur-Ching, this red ogre really deserves its reputation. Looking at the excited Batong Maru, many pirates who were observing secretly thought so in their hearts. What's the matter? Is there only so much strength? Shajur-Ching, don't hide it, show your true strength. Batong Pill drank fiercely, and his face was full of provocation. Hey, why bother? Shajur-Ching sighed, but his skills suddenly changed. Even he has to admit that Marine Rokushiki alone really can't win Batong Pill. His sand and iron palms can crush the air for a while. For a while, Bajabang has the power to crack the mountain. After a while, it was the demon fist, one punch was stronger than another. The strength is strong and powerful, even Shajur-Ching feels some arms go numb. Since entering this state, Shajur-Ching has felt that Batong Pill's power and defense are increasing. His emission hockey couldn't even be too effective. Chidori! Shajur-Ching shouted, his body was wrapped in lightning, and the rolling thunder and lightning roared out. Batong Wan's pupils shrank immediately, and he immediately settled down. His hands suddenly hit Tai Chi and shouted, fighting and star shifting. See. Batong Wan's right shoulder suddenly bleeds. He snorted and stepped back, saying, as expected of Shajur-Ching, melee combat is so powerful. Then he waved his hand and shouted, Iron Dragon Roll. In an instant, the world changed. All I could hear was a loud crash of iron objects, and a tornado-like iron storm swept across the sky and wrapped up towards Shajur-Ching. Rankyaku, Tempest Kick Libo. Shajur-Ching's face was dignified. This tornado was afraid that Admiral would have a headache, and the degree of condensedness was terrifying. Moreover, it also exudes an aura of destruction, which is the aura of the demon vanquishing fist that Shajur-Ching is very familiar with. Ba! The huge thunder and lightning sword wave and the iron storm collided fiercely, and it seemed as if the entire Sabayati archipelago would be destroyed. The violent aftermath directly tore the sea, causing a wild tsunami to roar in all directions. These two monsters. Those onlookers have the heart to scold their mother directly. Is it necessary to make such a big move? Rayleigh and Marine Admiral Kizaru didn't have a fight, but it's not as high profile as you. It's not over yet, the image of the demon. Batong Maru folded his hands together, making the appearance of slapping mosquitoes. In the 2 weeks of Shajur-Ching's land, 2 huge iron palms appeared directly, pressing the air to come. Shajur-Ching dodged. Isho, who succeeded in Batong Wan's conspiracy, iron strikes the rain. I saw that under Shajur-Ching's feet, a dense pile of iron bullets flew out in an instant, all of which were as big as duck eggs. Hey, it's too much. Shajur-Ching scratched his head, and went in the iron bullet like a fluttering fox, and the leaves did not touch his body. Thunder escaped Chidori flow. Shajur-Ching formed a seal leisurely, and the surroundings suddenly turned into a sea of thunder and lightning, and everything was completely shattered. Without waiting for Batong Maru's next move, a light-speed thunder gun pierced through Batong Maru's hard defense. Chidori Spear. Shajur-Ching placed his finger with thunder and lightning in front of Batong Maru. His body was full of thunder, as if the god of thunder, it's over. Ha ha ha, as expected of Shajur-Ching, she is really powerful and despairing. Very well, I'm getting more and more interested in you. After that, Batong Wan turned into a steel puppet, and the main body was gone. Ah, what a novel way to escape. Shajur-Ching looked at the lifelike iron statue in front of him and couldn't help knocking on it. Ding ding ding. Well, let's not say it, the sound is very crisp. What kind of ability is this? Shajur-Ching looked at the iron doll and couldn't help but fall into thinking. Devil Fruit ability has absolutely no such effect. He can also feel the breath of Batong Wan without the power of Devil Fruit. Maybe, he is really like me, a transmigrator. Batong Maru is not the only one who does not have Devil Fruit but also has abilities similar to Devil Fruit. After all, Shajur-Ching himself is a. 8 poles collapsed, the stars moved, the demon-busting fist, the sand-iron palm, it really has a strong atmosphere of ancient martial arts. Hey, if I had known this earlier, I should have asked him where he came from. Shajur-Ching scratched his head in great distress. He just went to the battle and didn't think about this problem. With a sigh, he glanced at the pirates who were watching, and saw that their faces changed greatly, and then they rushed in a hurry. Just kidding, being targeted by Shajur-Ching is over. They are not monsters like Batong Wan. Really, am I that scary? Shajur-Ching shook his head helplessly, and then, thinking of Aunt Xiao's ripping off, he walked to the bar. After the battle is over, drinking a little wine can't be more pleasant. But he didn't know that the news of his appearance had begun to cause panic on the island. 65. Wow! Batong Wan suddenly appeared in front of the entrance of the marine branch, a mouthful of blood spurted out, and his face was as pale as wax paper. There is a big black hole in the right arm, still flashing thunder and lightning, sizzling sound. Shuitong Shajur-Ching really deserves his reputation. Before waiting for the guards to come over, he passed out in a coma. Don't look at his fists against so many emission hockey looks okay. It was just that he endured it. Of course, if it wasn't for the last thunder gun, he wouldn't have suffered such a serious injury. It was the last blow, too fast, too fierce. The violent and thick thunder and lightning made him feel that every cell in him was about to be devoured and torn apart. He even felt death. Originally, it was a little difficult to endure Shajur-Ching's emission hockey, and the last shot directly gave him a break. What is this guy doing? Shajur-Ching, how can he make such a big noise? Can't he just go shopping quietly? The violent battle between Shajur-Ching and Batong Wan naturally also affected Anna's 4 daughters, and Anna complained with black lines all over her head. Chapter 806 The Land of Sabayati where the heroes gather. However, to make the president make such a move, who is the opponent? So powerful, Nicole Robbins said guessing. Maybe he is depressed. Nami's face was full of playfulness, and only Hancock was a little more serious, saying, "How can you say that, my lord, my concubine will never allow it." But looking at the flickering color in her eyes, obviously, it may not be sincere. If Shajur-Ching knew about these things, he would definitely sigh in the sky. Even Hancock had learned badly, it was unreasonable. Marine area. Nani, you mean, that fellow Shajur-Ching is also on this island? When the seriously injured Batong Wan woke up and told Zandao Wan the news, Zandao Wan took a deep breath. Who else but him could recreate me like this? Hearing this, Batong Wan couldn't help but laugh bitterly. This Shajur-Ching is really powerful and well-deserved. He easily inflicted heavy damage on himself, and did not try his true strength at all. This makes Batong Wan somewhat unhappy. Why did he fight with Shajur-Ching? Isn't it just to test Shajur-Ching's strength? Otherwise, why would he go to death? You guys are really bold, but Mr. Kizaru doesn't dare to single-handedly exist. You came to the door alone, really. Zan Taomaru doesn't even know what to say about Sha Muyang. This kind of person is too bold. Hey, there is such a strong power on the island, how can you not go to ask for advice? Seeing Zan Taomaru's expression, Batongmaru said with a grin. Although Zan Taowen wanted to refute, he had to admit that Batongwan was right, and there was nothing wrong with it. Aunt Xiao's ripping bar. Era, here comes an amazing character. When Sha Muyang pushed the door and walked into the bar, Aunt Xiao's voice sounded in his ears. After so many years, Aunt Xiao is still so radiant, even younger, which is really enviable. Sha Zhiqing sat down in front of the bar and looked at Aunt Xiao jokingly and said, Hee, your mouth is the sweetest, but you are the only one who dares to tease me like this, what can I drink? Aunt Xiao, Isho, can't be denied. Some words, just listen to them, don't take them seriously. Come to a bottle of Jubuzong's sake bar. The taste is not bad, it is more in line with my taste. Sha Zhiqing skillfully ordered a bottle of wine. This is a low-purity rice wine, which is very suitable for romantic and quiet taste. I heard that you are collecting historical texts. Why, Shatong, who has always been only interested in business and freedom, is suddenly interested in big secret treasures. Big secret treasures don't necessarily have money. Aunt Xiao took a breath and looked at Sha Zhiqing with interest, wanting to know his inner thoughts. People's needs are always changing. The past is the past, the present is now, the status is different, the height is different, and the needs are naturally different. It's okay to be interested in the great secret treasure, the final land. Isn't that what Roger was like back then? Sha Zhiqing took a sip of wine and said with a smile. Era, he really looks like the Roger kid back then. He said the same thing back then. When Aunt Xiao heard this, a strange look flashed in her eyes, full of admiration. Sha Zhiqing, ha, it seems that on this matter, I still have a common opinion with the previous generation One Piece King of Pirates. The so-called heroes see the same thing, maybe that's what it means. A certain area where pirates are infested. To be able to meet Shuitong Sha Zhiqing, one of the legendary 5 emperors, in such a place, I can't help but get excited. I really want to see his style up close. A rebellious pirate wiped his mouth, and his eyes were full of excitement and madness. Let's leave quickly. Although the marine headquarters has moved out, a guy like Shui Zhiqing is too dangerous. No one knows what will happen next. It's better to observe from a distance if we exist like little scumbags. A prudent pirate took care of himself, immediately retreated, and ran to the port. The entire Sabayati archipelago was completely rioted because of the arrival of Sha Zhiqing. But this time, they didn't have the heart to harass the surrounding merchants at all, because none of them knew which store would have Sha Zhiqing. They all know that Sha Zhiqing likes private visits in WeChat the most. If the time comes to provoke Sha Zhiqing like this, wouldn't it be over? It's great that these arrogant and domineering guys also have today. The bosses of the major shops watched this scene, and their hearts were extremely happy. Even the nobles who came out to play have begun to become cautious. Because they are also afraid that they will be publicized for a while and provoke Sha Zhiqing, then they can't eat it and go away. Of course, they are just having fun with their mouths. After all, this kind of thing only happens under certain circumstances. Of course, not all pirates have left. A considerable number of pirates with a bounty of over 100 million are still calmly drinking wine, having dinner together, chatting, bragging and farting unmoved. They all have a certain amount of confidence, so they won't be in a hurry like those pirates with tens of millions of bounties. In a large bar, there are several tables of pirates, occupying more than half of the bar, and there are about 100 people in total. Ha, I can't help but feel excited and shudder when I think that a powerhouse like Shatong is on the island. In the first place, a big man who looked very vicious, wiped away the oil stains from the corners of his mouth, his eyes seemed to be burning with fierce light, and the whole person said like a tiger. He has short hair, a long scar on his head, a dark right eye, a large knife hanging from his waist, and the smell of blood. North Blue Tyrant Uris, with a bounty of 128 million Bailey. The person with the highest bounty on the island at present. Not far from here, a man in a gentleman's attire gently fiddled with the piccolo in his hand, watching the big man so lowly. Behind him, stood 15 people wearing long robes, and all of them had a big foe printed on their robes. And not far from the man in the gentleman's costume, sat a man with wings on his back and 2 tentacles on his head. He looked at the man in the gentleman's clothes and couldn't help squinting. West Blue doesn't kill Fogetian, the bounty is 94 million Bailey, which is 10 million more than me, and he is also a difficult guy. And the man in the suit naturally noticed the man with wings on his back, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. The Great Airways Sky Knight Waibagu, the bounty is 84 million Bailey. The 3 of us should be the strongest so far. Exist. Those who should go are gone. Quote. Chapter 807 All are monsters. Under the demeanor of the 11 supernovas, the 3 of them are the most powerful 3 in the current Sabayati archipelago. Here, they have the right to speak out. And the reactions of the diners around are also like this. I didn't expect these 3 to gather here. You 3 can take it easy, but don't fight like the 11 people back then. Someone prayed out loud in their hearts like this, extremely worried. Their battle will definitely attract Marine's siege. At that time, many of them who want to stay and look for opportunities will be unlucky. And there is obviously more than one person who has this idea. There are at least a dozen people from the forces. From time to time their eyes are swept over these 3 people. Just as they were thinking about it, a man pushed the door and walked in outside the bar. It's still as lively as ever, Sabayati Archipelago. This is a red-haired, hedgehog-headed man with a dagger and a pistol on his chest, goggles, a dark red coat, and yellow spotted bloomers. He is smiling extremely ferociously. Those scarlet lips, that arrogant and breathless oppression, made everyone present suddenly change color. Behind the man, a thin man with white and blue stripes on his head, a man who looked a bit like a zombie, his mouth was sewn with thread, and a man with blue and purple thorns on his body, stood left and right. They all exude a powerful and amazing aura. The entire bar was silent, and needles could be heard. Hey, why does this guy appear in Sabayati again? The gentleman-like man was also a little restless. At this moment, a sudden gust of wind blew a reward order that was nailed in the tavern. On the reward order, it was the photo of this scarlet-lipped man. And his identity is Great Pirate Captain Eustace Kid, with a bounty of 315 million Bailey. Yo, isn't this Captain Eustace Kid? What a coincidence, I can still meet you here. Just when everyone was surprised, a cynical voice came from behind Kid. A man with long braids in a coat walked in. The most noticeable thing was his unusually long arms. Seeing this man, the pirates present couldn't help but gasped again, and quite a few stood up in shock. Unbelievable horror appeared on their faces, and cold sweat flowed from their heads. The eyes of the 3 of Waibagu immediately turned to this man, all of them were flames of war. The atmosphere in the tavern suddenly became tense. Quite a bit of a tense feeling. It's really tingling, supernovae are gathering here again, what the hell is going on? Waibagu looked at the man with long hands, and his eyes were full of excitement that could not be concealed. This man is no one else. It is the existence of one of the 11 supernovas, Hyaming Scratchman EPUB, with a bounty of 198 million Bailey. What are you doing here, EPUB? Didn't you go to the New World? Kid turned to EPUB and asked with a grin. HMPH, your purpose should be the same as mine, kid. EPUB found a place to sit down, completely ignoring the fierce light in the eyes of the tyrant sword Uris. Gia Lala, do you want to see the 5th Emperor's style too? Kid heard the words, full of ridicule. Hee, why not? This is the Emperor of the New World, it is understandable to know our enemies in advance. EPUB sat down arrogantly cross-legged, and raised Erlang's legs, His face was full of provocation. Hyaming Scratchman Apu, it's the right time, I've coveted your head for a long time. Supernova 11, let me see your level. Don't just be a parallel importer. At this time, Yuri's, who was sitting on the side, suddenly got into trouble. Boom. Apu didn't expect to say that Yuri said he would do it, and he was blown away. Cut, it really is a parallel import. Then, what about your strength, you Stas kid? Yuri's grinned and licked his lips, and the big knife slammed down the air with great force. If Shajurching is here, it must be said, this Yuri's even uses hockey. Yes, he has armament hockey wrapped around it. Boy, don't be too arrogant. Kid, a fighting madman, a master of melee combat, who just waved his hand to block the falling sword. Bang! The huge sound of gold and iron exploded, and there was a commotion in the tavern. Is it still a fight after all? It's really a headache. Waibagu looked at all this but never thought of mixing it up. His strength did not allow him to mix things like this. Because it can't be blended. Just so much effort. Kid responded to the knife effortlessly, and then, with Yuri's extremely labored expression, slowly pushed the knife back. You dare to provoke Lao Su, Jia Lala, do you really think labor and capital are the enemies you can deal with? Kid's ability activated, his left hand absorbed all the iron and turned into a huge fist. Yuri's wanted to run. Kid grinned, do you think you can run away? Boy! He punched it out, and the fist turned into a dragon-shaped roar, lingering with magnetic force, extremely fast, and powerful. Yuri's dodged frantically, but the dragon-shaped attack was too fast, and within 15 seconds, Yuri's was slammed into the chest. PFF'd. How could Yuri's withstand such a blow? He immediately smashed through the wall and flew out with a big mouthful of blood. Ants must have the consciousness of ants, and provoke others, but they have to pay a price. Kid protruded his hand, the dragon-shaped attack turned into an arm protruding again. In just a few seconds, Yuri's was caught by the mechanical arm and dragged in. I saw Yuri's trying to do it in pain and struggling, but he couldn't do it at all, as weak as a child. The pirates with a bounty of 100 million were killed in seconds. This kind of strength made the hearts of the pirates present tremble. Kid's strength is not what they want. This is a bit too strong. As expected of Captain Kidd, he even directly crushed 100 million pirates. At this time, Hyaming's Scratchman Apu's voice came over again, and he was not injured at all except for his embarrassment. Sure enough, it's also a monster. Seeing that he was kicked out by Yuri's, there was nothing at all, and everyone present couldn't help showing a solemn look in their eyes. Chapter 808. Someone out there. Captain Kidd, I have a suggestion, do you want to listen to it? Maybe, you will be very interested. Apu found a place to sit again and asked. Then you better ensure that your plan is crazy enough, otherwise, you will understand the consequences. Kid threw Yuri's out like a dead dog, and his eyes were full of danger. As for the glares of Yuri's crew members, he completely ignored them. These little bastards didn't even catch his eye. There are still a lot of people here, don't you think, Captain Kidd? Apu looked around, his eyes were full of ill will. Cut, this guy. Hearing Apu's words, the expressions of all the pirates around couldn't help but change greatly, and then, Waibagu was the first to say, Sky Pirates, let's withdraw. Continue to stay here, it will definitely become a Kid target. In the case of Yuri's just now, who dares to disobey Kid? Can it be stronger than Yuri's? Yuri's stopped eating for Kid, not to mention other people. The second after Waibagu left, Jadian also said, the Holy Buddha pirates, retreat. They naturally understood the gap between themselves and Kid, and naturally did not dare to stay. If they had some confidence in the past, they felt that they could wrestle with people like Kid. Now, it is impossible for them to have such an idea at all. The power gap is too great. The powerful blow from reality made them understand the vastness of this sea, and there are people outside. Their strength is not enough to see it all. Kid here. Oh, the plan to kill the 5 emperors. The target is Kaido. It's interesting, it's crazy. When Kid heard these words from EPUB's mouth, he immediately showed great interest. However, with our little plan, we can't realize your plan. Our strength is too weak, and the 5 emperors are not so vulnerable. Kid looked at EPUB, although his plan was indeed quite tempting, but the feasibility was too low. Era, what a good plan to hunt down the 5 emperors. At this time, another voice suddenly came, and a young face smiled, and Shirin walked in like this. Kid's subordinates stopped immediately and drank. You bastard, look for. But before he finished speaking, he heard his captain shout, back up. There was a deep sense of horror and urgency in his voice. Whoosh. Before the man could understand what was going on, his eyes were blurred, and his abdomen was aching. Straight out of the pub. Shajur-Ching, I didn't expect to meet you in such a place. Kid's face was full of fear, his body was tense, and Vivi was trembling when he spoke. EPUB is the same. After all, they are facing the strongest man in the world. This man has the strength to easily kill them. And listening to Kid's words, Kid's subordinates and EPUB's subordinates couldn't help gasping for breath, and Gulu's saliva couldn't stop. What's more, his legs were trembling with fright, and the faucet swept away for thousands of miles, and he was very fishy. Shajur-Ching, the weight of this name is too heavy. Fun, really fun. Outside the tavern, a group of backward pirates are going to kill you old parties of the era and become a new supernova, making waves in the sea. And you supernovas are already thinking about how to kill us old guys and become the center of the times. What a terrible ambition. Shajur-Ching hummed and laughed out loud. The smile was unusually evil, and it was unusually captivating. You're not here just to tell us this nonsense. EPUB looked at Shajur-Ching and asked cautiously. Of course, I'm not here just to talk nonsense with you. Shajur-Ching couldn't deny the words. After all, he wasn't talking nonsense in the first place, he had serious business to look for these two. No, it should be said that some unscrupulous person, after drinking a little wine, watched a group of pirates flee from Sabayati archipelago, and he had a very excellent idea. The idea is very simple. Since he wants to find the historical text, but some people are not enough, but he doesn't want to recruit more people, what should I do? Shajur-Ching was still troubled before, but now, he has figured it out. Since there are so many pirates in this sea, why not take advantage of it? Wouldn't it be a waste if you don't use it? Therefore, with Shajur-Ching now in this line. Before coming here, several pirate groups had reached an agreement with Shajur-Ching to help him find the historical text. As long as it's a historical text, it's fine. How to find the historical text of road signs, even better. In the tavern. You want us to be your free labor force to help you find historical texts. Kid listened to Shajur-Ching's words, his face suddenly became gloomy, very ugly, and his tone was quite bad. Otherwise, do you think it's necessary for you two newcomers to make a special trip for me? Shajur-Ching glanced at the two of them, frivolous and didn't care. Just like what Kid said to Yuri's just now, the same arrogance, the same aloofness, the same majesty, no resistance. Giggle. Kid immediately clenched his fists. He really wanted to rush up and punch Shajur-Ching. Unfortunately, his reason told him that he was not Shajur-Ching's opponent. But let his dignified supernova help Shajur-Ching find some historical text, what a joke. Take them for someone. I really thought it was his slave, do whatever you say. You have no chance to refuse, otherwise, your conversation just now is enough to make you die many times. The position of the 5 emperors is not something you guys can covet. There was a contemptuous smile on Shajur-Ching's mouth, but his eyes were full of murderous intent and terrifying oppression. This terrifying oppression made the scalp tingle and even breathless. Even the two of them, Kid couldn't help groaning, and their faces were a little ugly. They didn't expect to say that Shajur would change his face if he changed his face. How, to agree or not to agree? Life and death are just between you. Not to mention, it's not just the two of you who have this kind of treatment. Shajur asked with a smile, and his fingers tapped the table rhythmically, making people panic. This sound of knocking, as if knocking on their hearts, made them very uncomfortable. When you're sure you find it, set us free. Even if he is as rebellious as Kid, he has to submit to the power of Shajur. Otherwise, they are likely to die. Kid is really reckless, but don't want to be reckless. Chapter 809 Met Tenryubito. This is really a failed journey. Kid gave in. How could EPUB dare to refuse? But he was naturally depressed. Okay, then I also have to make a contract with you 3 chapters. If you violate some things, don't blame me for being merciless. Kid, these pirates act arrogantly and unscrupulously. If they don't make rules for them to restrain them, they may make some trouble. This is not what Shajur wants to see. Cut, if you are a bitch, you have to set up an archway. Hypocrisy. Shajur clearly heard Kid accept someone and cursed in such a low voice. Shajur glanced at that person. The man I saw bounced up like he was electrocuted, and his face was instantly bloodless. Shajur said, "You speak ill of people behind your back, but you will be punished by God, don't you think?" Then, Shajur patted his butt and left. He hummed a little tune and walked on the road. His face was full of happiness. Today's wind is so noisy. On the road where he passed, groups of pirates were filled with hatred in their eyes, burning with angry flames. Because of Shajur sudden intention, all of them, whoever Shajur took a fancy to, all became his tools. All of a sudden, freedom, adventure, money, beauty, all are gone. We have to find a baby for Shajur. They are depressed and angry. Want to resist, but can't. A certain port in the pirate area. It's no wonder that today's hexagram says it's not advisable to go out. It's fierce, so it is. One of the 11 supernovas, the captain of the magician pirates, Magician Hawkins, looked at the smiling young man in front of him, and a cold sweat broke out on his forehead. This man could kill him. Oh, what a coincidence. I just said goodbye to Kid and EPUB, and I met you again in this place. Hee hee, God really cares for me. Knowing that I am short of manpower, I will send someone to me. The young man who appeared in front of Hawkins, besides Shajur who was heartless, who else could? Even Kid, Your Excellency EPUB has met with you. No wonder there is a haze in that direction, so it is. Hawkins said indifferently, like a magician. But his body was constantly tensing. According to what you just said, obviously, I am not the first person to have this kind of treatment. Hawkins looked at Shajur and analyzed the facts. Of course, including you, 4 supernovas have already joined this plan. Your luck is really good, and you just met me. Shajur laughed like a devil. If possible, Hawkins would like to refuse. But unfortunately, he couldn't refuse. Then my luck is really good. Tell me, what is the plan? As long as I can help, I will try my best. Hawkins knew that it was impossible for him to resist Shajur. If so, why not obey? Anyway, it is not a shame to submit to the subordinates of 5 emperors. I just like to deal with smart people like you. It's not as tiring as dealing with Kid. Hearing Hawkins' words, Shajur gave him the expression that you are very knowledgeable. Then, he said what he just said to Kid and others. In 2 minutes. After listening to Shajur remarks, Hawkins couldn't help but sighed and said, I know, I will definitely follow the rules, and I hope you will. Isn't it just looking for the historical text? Just look for it. Then go, don't let me down, everyone. My future depends on you. After listening, Hawkins gave the order, and his crew left. Get another one. Oops, the weather today is so nice. Shajur hummed a little tune and continued to hang out in Sabayati archipelago. And along the way, as long as they saw Shajur-Ching, those children all looked like they had seen a ghost, fled frantically, terrified. Shajur-Ching is a little embarrassed. Is it that scary? I'm not a tiger. Shajur-Ching touched his handsome face and thought so. But how did he know that his notoriety had already spread throughout the Sabayati archipelago within a minute? Everyone knows that Shajur-Ching, the 5 emperors, the strongest man in the world, is now catching strong men. When they thought that they might be enslaved by Shajur-Ching forever, they were extremely resistant. Of course, if Shajur-Ching extended an olive branch to them, they would be very willing to join the Summer Chamber of Commerce. After all, this is joining the power of the 5 emperors. But if there is no benefit to be gained, and if they have to work hard, then they will not be willing. If you have nothing to do, you will be full and support yourself, voluntarily and selflessly. The other side. Shajur-Ching, he likes to do things when he has free time. He really looks like a naughty monkey. Now, Marine may have another headache. The 4 Anna, who were shopping, also learned the news and couldn't help but smile bitterly. But at this moment, a sharp and piercing voice suddenly came from behind them. Where are the 4 lowly maids who didn't kneel down to greet me, and dared to talk and laugh in front of me? So offend my majesty, unforgivable, kill them for me. The 4 women turned around when they heard the words, but in front of them, a woman Tenryubito who was wearing a transparent oxygen mask and dressed gorgeously, and was guarded by a group of black bodyguards, shouted murderously. Hearing Tenryubito's order, the men in black rushed over immediately, with cruel expressions on the corners of their mouths. It's a pity that with such a good appearance, Tenryubito doesn't have eyes to provoke Tenryubito. Ah! There was a panicked scream around, and it was extremely harsh. This made the female Tenryubito's face suddenly gloomy. Shut up, you lowly bastards, do you want to die? All of a sudden, the surroundings were silent. But they all couldn't help but close their eyes, daring not to look at the bloody state. In their imagination, how could Anna and the other weak women be the opponents of a strong body like Tenryubito's bodyguard? That is the elite of the world government. Tenryubito, it's interesting. However, will Anna and the others be unable to beat these bodyguards? That can't be. Boom. Just heard a few dull collisions, and all the black-clothed bodyguards who rushed over flew out. I heard you want us to die. Anna took lotus steps to the front of this female Tenryubito, looking down at her with a mocking smile on her lips. How dare you show me such a sarcastic smile? When the female Tenryubito saw this, her face distorted in anger. Chapter 810 What about Tenryubito? She shouted arrogantly. You 2 sluts, quickly kneel down and apologize to me, otherwise, you will be hunted down by the world government. She was extremely proud and looked like a superior. In her imagination, as Tenryubito, a descendant of the gods, no one in the world can resist her, and must obey her orders. She believed that people like Anna would see the situation clearly and recognize the reality. Those big pirates who had a bounty of 500 million to 600 million back then were so arrogant and domineering, they were not as well behaved as a cat in front of her. Apologize when you say apology, kneel when you say kneel. Those bodyguards also showed contemptuous smiles. They really don't have eyes. Is Tenryubito someone they can afford? Just looking for death. Kneel down. Apologize. Giggle, it's been a long time since I heard this kind of nonsense. However, when Anna's 4 daughters heard this, they couldn't help laughing. Who are they? The decision-making level of the Summer Chamber of Commerce, one of the 5 emperors' forces. Anna is a big pirate with a bounty of more than 1 billion, even Marine Admiral is not afraid, but also afraid of Tenryubito. The people kneeling around couldn't help being stunned, and then looked at Anna and the others with pity. Haven't heard of anyone surviving by provoking Tenryubito. Bastard! How dare you laugh at me, I want you to die. Hearing this, the female Tenryubito blew up and roared angrily at the guards, kill me. Yes. Those guards suddenly shuddered, and then they all rushed over like killing gods. All their faces were arrogant and proud. Die, we are not the nonsense just now, we will be easily defeated by you. HMPH, isn't it? At this time, Hancock's raw voice came, disdainfully. Then, she heard a scolding from her phoenix eyes, and a majestic oppression came out. In an instant, the surrounding area lost its color, and the surrounding people also fainted. How could it be, Conqueror Hockey, you are? The leading black-clothed bodyguard took a deep breath and stopped going abruptly. Then he bit his tongue hard, enduring the blood and pain in his mouth, so he didn't pass out. Women can use Conqueror Hockey, and there seem to be only two people in this world who meet this characteristic. One is Charlotte Linlin, the Five Emperors, but she doesn't have that kind of figure and beauty. And another. That is the woman of the Five Emperors, Shazher Ching, the Emperor of the Amazon Kingdom, and the Empress of the world's most beautiful woman, Boa Hancock. When I thought that I and others were provoking the Empress Hancock, he couldn't help panicking, and he was dripping with cold sweat, and his legs were shaking. Hancock is Shazher Ching with blood pupils. He was the strongest man in the world, a ruthless man whom Marine was even afraid of. Tenryubito, he, in front of that person, Tenryubito is a scum. Around him, the rest of the bodyguards were in disarray or fainted, or lost their minds, or lost their ability to resist with pained faces. Only the female Tenryubito seemed to be fine and safe. Of course it wasn't how strong she was, it was just because Hancock let her go. So now, who exactly died? Anna came to Tenryubito and looked at her with a smile. Looking at her stern look, her smile became more and more brilliant. Concubine, I hate Tenryubito the most. Hancock also came to this Tenryubito, and said with an extremely cold expression. What do you want? I warn you, don't. Before the female Tenryubito could finish her words, Hancock stepped on her head and pressed it into the ground. Shut up, your concubine. Suddenly, the whole world is quiet. Gollum. The black-clothed bodyguard looked at this scene and couldn't help swallowing. This is too sturdy. Will it be too much? Nami clicked her tongue. Hancock's approach is too sturdy, although she thinks it is very cool. Ah. It wasn't until 2 or 3 seconds later that the female Tenryubito screamed out, You are all dead, I want you all to die. This female Tenryubito's spiteful roar, sharp voice suddenly attracted the attention of many people on the street. Then. My God, how can this? That's Tenryubito, it's over, run away. You have caused a big disaster, so don't hurry up to apologize and beg for mercy. If you want to die, don't implicate us. The onlookers were all panicked, they only felt that the sky was falling, and immediately fled everywhere. Some people were extremely angry and shouted at Hancock and the others, and they were all resentful. Ha ha ha, you are all dead, do you hear it, so don't kneel down and beg for mercy. Listening to the words of the people around, this female Tenryubito seems to have found the confidence, and starts to talk nonsense again. She is quite satisfied with the reactions of the people around her. She is Tenryubito, the descendant of the gods. If you dare to touch her, everyone will die. What a lot of nonsense. But in exchange, it was just a spit from Anna, and then her mouth was covered. Forget it, to save you from implicated others, I will take you away with reluctance, and let me see how long it will take for the world government to come to me to lead people. Anna activated her ability and dragged the female Tenryubito into the quagmire and sealed it up. Come on, good shopping, ruined like this. Seeing the panic, anger, and resentment on the faces of the people around, Anna cast an indifferent glance at them, all disdain in her indifference. Someone recognized her immediately. It's Anna, the daughter of the great pirate Mudstream. The moment Anna's identity was recognized, the whole scene was boiling. This is the big pirate with a bounty of 1.257 billion Bailey. The strength enough to make the entire Sabayati archipelago pirates despair. Many people were directly scared back several steps. That's the Empress Boa Hancock. By the way, that's Nico Robin, the Devil's son. And that's the genius navigator Nami. Immediately afterwards, the identities of the three Hancocks were also recognized, and immediately, all the people felt a sincere chill. There was a look of horror in their eyes. Can they not panic? The people standing in front of them are people from the Summer Chamber of Commerce. What kind of power is the Summer Chamber of Commerce? The top forces in the New World can crush them to death with a small breath. Just like this, everyone looked at the four girls like this, walked with a graceful figure, and left. I dare not stop it at all. It was the black-clothed bodyguard who dared to call Marine after confirming that Hancock and the others had indeed left. Let them send troops to maintain order and rescue Tenryubito. Chapter 811 What are you? What? Tenryubito was hijacked. When he heard the call, Zon Taomaru was struck by lightning. Then, without even thinking about it, first dialed the Marine headquarters. Marine headquarters. What? The Lady of the Mud Stream has kidnapped Tenryubito. When Akainu got the news from Zon Taomaru's mouth, his mind was also stunned. Then, it exploded directly. What the hell is this bastard doing? His scalp is numb. It's about Tenryubito, don't be sloppy. But the person who hijacked Tenryubito was Anna of the Summer Chamber of Commerce, which was difficult. This is not a messy organization. Let the old man go, the girl of the mud flow will not travel alone, that man must be on the island. At this moment, Kizaru, who was trimming his nails, suddenly spoke up. Hearing this, Akainu hurriedly asked to confirm, is that fellow Shajurching on Sabayati Archipelago? Zon Taomaru gave a positive answer. Akainu felt certain in his heart. Although the existence of this guy will make the situation more difficult, but if he is here, it will be better to negotiate the conditions, and the matter will be solved better. The only thing to pay attention to is how to meet Shajurching's needs. In this world, there are not many things that can satisfy Shajurching. Then please, Borsellino, you must bring Tenryubito back, otherwise, the world's government will not be able to explain it. Akainu put down the phone and looked at Kizaru who volunteered and asked out. Don't worry, Marshal Akainu, it will. Kizaru took off and walked out shyly. Then, riding the Marine's cannonball directly across the Red Soil continent. After the approval of the Red Soil continent, it took a special descent boat for half an hour before descending on Sabayati Archipelago. There are waves in the waves, the wind is so noisy today, the waves in this sea are so big. When Shajurching hummed a little tune, he passed by the door of the shop where Hancock and the others were making trouble. The voices of the surrounding people's discussion sounded in my ears. Have you heard? Anna, the daughter of the mud flow of the Summer Chamber of Commerce, kidnapped Saint Tenryubito de Javel. I heard that Marine Admiral Kizaru is also here, to negotiate with the girl of the mud flow. Hey, who doesn't know about this now? No, look, those pirates panicked and started to flee. Negotiating with the daughter of mud flow. You are a layman. The daughter of mud flow is here, will Shajurching not be there? Kizaru must have come to talk to Shajurching. The girl of mud flow can't be the master. What, the Emperor of the New World is here too? My God, this is too scary. Listening to these people's words, Shajurching couldn't help touching his nose, thinking, how can these women cause more trouble than me? But it's okay, just to exchange some other things with them by the way. For example, the technology of pacifists, for example, the truth of the world. Shajurching has left. Just like a passerby, he comes and goes in a hurry, waving his sleeves without taking away a cloud. Where did you come from? Let me be your wife, do you think you are worthy? Hancock's four girls walked halfway and were molested played again. Even Anna couldn't help feeling that they probably didn't read the almanac when they went out today, so things happened one after another. How can it be so difficult to go for a good stroll? So many things happen for no reason. Ha ha ha, I don't deserve it. Listen, the labor and management are the Black Bull Jacoby with a bounty of 58 million Bailey. It's your honor to be able to see you. If you dare to resist, hee hee, then don't blame me for killing the flowers. A big man with pockmarks on his face, a fleshy face, and rosacea. With a shy belly, he swept over the 4 Hancock girls with an improper look on his face. His mouth was almost drooling, and he looked like a spring brother. Jacoby was so elated, looking at the stunning beauty of the 4 people in front of him, he couldn't wait to throw them down and kill them all. That figure, that appearance, that temperament, tisk tisk tisk, was simply tempting him to commit a crime. Compared with the 4 of them, the women he has seen over the years are just like Yingwo and Yuehua, they are not on the same level at all. Gia, chick, it's better to be acquainted, so you can suffer less. Otherwise, when the time comes, we will not be light or heavy, and it will not be good if your appearance is broken. The miscellaneous soldiers around Jacoby all showed the eyes of jackals, and their eyes glowed green, and they were full of desires and did not hide. If it were an ordinary woman, I'm afraid she would have panicked already. But Hancock, they. Forget it, I'm afraid, it doesn't exist. Oh, is it? You dare to beat my woman's idea, you are not small. Just when Hancock was about to teach these people a lesson, a calm voice came from behind her. Although it is indifferent, but in the tone, it is full of majesty that looks down on all beings, which makes people feel surrendered. Everyone couldn't help but startled, and immediately looked at them, but saw a young man in black walking leisurely. He carries a long sword with a flowing fire pattern on his waist, and his robes are automatic without wind. The surrounding air retreats, and the space is distorted. All around, suddenly quiet. Gollum. Jacoby looked at the young man, his pupils shrunk into a ball, and then he was scared to pee. He recognized the identity of this young man in an instant. He didn't even think about it, he knelt down on the ground and hurriedly kowtowed. Lord Shajur-Ching, spare your life, the little one has no eyes, I didn't know it was your woman, I definitely don't dare, I immediately. After teasing playing my woman, I want to expose it with an apology. Don't you think it's too simple? Shajur-Ching interrupted Jacoby and came to him, looking at his frightened subordinates around him, all smiles on the corners of his mouth, at least a few claws should be chopped off as an example. Hi. When the little pirates around him heard these words, their cold hairs exploded, and their eyes looking at Shajur-Ching were full of fear. After all, it is a top pirate who can put such cruel things in such an understatement. Yes, thank you Shajur-Ching for your generosity magnificent. Jacoby raised his head tremblingly, pulled out the knife from his waist, and went down from his left hand. You can't move your right hand, you have to hold a knife. What about you? Didn't you say anything? Shajur-Ching looked at these minions again. All of them turned pale all of a sudden, and then, shaking their hands with their knives, they gritted their teeth, accompanied by screams, and the lesson of a lifetime fell. Go away. With a wave of Shajur-Ching's hand, a group of people rolled and crawled away like an amnesty. You guys tied a Tenryubito. It's more trouble than me. Shajur-Ching looked at the 4 of Anna, and the calm murderous intent just now turned into helplessness. Chapter 812 The Secret of the World. We can't just watch ourselves being bullied. So that's it. Anna shrugged helplessly, and then joked, the pirates in the new era are really clueless, and they want us to be women for him. Don't you know that he is touching the tiger's ass? Or a tiger who will pay attention to his eyes? Shajur-Ching directly rolled his eyes. Okay, we're almost done, so let's go back. Next, let's see how fast Marine moves. Hearing Shajur-Ching's words, Anna squinted Isho. You said, what will Marine give in exchange for this time? Her eyes were full of anticipation, and she couldn't help but silently complain about the little things. It's not a good idea to think like this. Then they wandered towards the port. Along the way, when everyone saw Shajur-Ching's 5 people, they all retreated crazily. Joke. When a few people went to the island before, because they were separated from each other, no one paid attention to them. But now, the matter of Shajur-Ching's 5 people on the island has spread throughout the island. Coupled with Hancock's striking face, and the incidents they made. They have become the focus of attention, and the identities of Shajirqing's 5 people are difficult not to be recognized. Sometimes it's not good to be too famous. Just like now, the camera lights of these reporters are really annoying. Looking at the reporters who came bravely like flies, Shajirqing narrowed his eyes, and then, a thunderous light exploded in the sky. Shaking his eyes, he also shakes the eyes of these reporters. They are willing to stand in the way. When the 5 returned to the boat, they discovered that there was already someone on the boat. An uncle with a lazy face and a slightly wretched appearance, wearing toed glasses, was looking at them with his legs crossed. Behind her stood a man with a battle axe and a red apron. "Yo, Kizaru Admiral, I have lost my way." Seeing this man, Shajirqing Isho revealed the identity of this uncle. "Marine Admiral, Kizaru Borsellino." "Well, telling your conditions is really a headache." Kizaru pouted, gate of opening straight to the point. "Simply, I want pacifists to make technology. Or tell me the truth about that part of the world I want to know." Shajirqing sat down opposite Kizaru, made a cup of tea, and took a sip. Kizaru waved his hand. "I can't control this, I have to ask the marshal." Saying that, he took out a phone bug and dialed it. After a short purr, Marshal Akainu's voice came out. "Borsellino, how's it going, what's that guy's condition?" Kizaru was about to repeat what Shajirqing had just said. Akainu over there fell silent. But Shajirqing still heard the slight inaudible clucking sound. "I'll consult with Gorosei, 5 elders." After a long time, Akainu hung up after giving such an answer. At the same time, "Damn guy, do you think the world is not chaotic enough? You still want the manufacturing technology of pacifists, what do you want to do, blood pupil?" Akainu roared in anger, his eyes were full of angry flames. If I had known that being a marshal was so tiring, he should not have taken over in the first place. "Hee, don't be so excited, Akainu, talk to Gorosei, 5 elders about this." At this time, the voice of former Marshal Sengoku came from outside the door. Akainu looked at it immediately, but saw Sengoku, wearing floral pants, a big shirt, and holding a bag of senbei, with white hair and beard walking in. What a leisurely look like that. "What are you doing, old man? Look at me joking." Akainu snorted coldly and said with some resentment. "Well, it's not a chance to come and walk around. Young man, don't be so angry, it won't solve the problem." Sengoku warned earnestly. But no matter how Akainu looked at it, he felt a little gloating. If possible, Akainu really wants to punch Sengoku in the face twice. "Get out." "Too bad he can't. You're taunting me instead of offering me a solution, this is how you help." Akainu looked at Sengoku, questioning, aloud. "Well, isn't this waiting for you to correspond with the Gorosei, 5 elders, and I'll give you a reference." Sengoku chewed a mouthful of senbei and said vaguely. Akainu couldn't help but snorted, not knowing whether it was dissatisfaction or satisfaction, and then dialed the world government line. After waiting for a short purr sound, the phone bug turned into a bald-headed kimono uncle with eyes. "What's the matter, Marshal Marine?" This Gorosei, 5 elders, holding the second generation of ghosts, asked with a sharp voice. Akainu's dignified Marshal Marine, this is what happened, we'll suddenly find them. Sabayadi Archipelago, Tenryubito was kidnapped by Shajirqing, and he offered to use pacifists to create technology or the world's secrets in exchange. How do you decide? Akainu's tone was quite unkind. Once Tenryubito was caught, their marine might lose a piece of pacifist secrets, which was really worth it. He's also happy to see Gorosei, 5 elders deflated. To be caught again, what a headache. On the other end of the phone bug, the tone of this Gorosei, 5 elders suddenly became a bit unpleasant. Tenryubito, get out of here, can't we save some snacks? When Sabayadi Archipelago is like this, where are you going to hang out? Don't know where it's dangerous. Then what do you think? Marshal Akainu. Gorosei, 5 elders kicked the ball back. My opinion is of course exchanged with the world's secrets. It is too important for pacifists to make technology, how can they know? Akainu looked at the hint that Sengoku gave him, and continued, anyway, what is the secret of the world? No one except One Piece, King of Pirates Roger knows it's true or false. In this case, it is quite worthwhile to give him a true and false information exchange back to Tenryubito Duyawire. And, we can even use this information to provoke a war between the 5 emperors. Let them fight for the content of the secrets of this world and consume each other's forces, and we can take advantage of the fishermen. Even, we could add half-truths about the final land to it. Aren't there many pirates in this ocean whose purpose is this? Just use this information to let them eat dogs, it's very beneficial to us. After hearing Akainu's words, Gorosei 5 elders fell silent for a while, obviously thinking. Then, the phone bug transforms into a suit with blonde hair. Chapter 813 Great Way. Sounds good, but it is very likely that Shajir-Ching will see through. The specific process is debatable, but it is indeed a good way. The phone bug turned into a hornbeard again, with a scar on its head. The voice also changed from the calmness just now to a dull old-fashioned, but you shouldn't have come up with this method, Akainu. Sengoku should be by your side, right? This is quite certain. Sengoku said. I didn't expect it to be guessed, as expected of Lord Gorosei 5 elders. With a little compliment. The hornbeard Gorosei 5 elders snorted and said contentedly, the smell of this full of conspiracy, just listening to you. If Akainu wants to reach your level, it will take a few years of immersion. In this regard, although Akainu has a dark face, he must also admit the truth. Then, he conveyed their discussions to Zantaomaru and Kizaru. It seems that you got your wish. The world government and the marshal have agreed to your request and exchange the world's secrets. Kizaru's leisurely chance clipped his nails and said casually. It's the Gorosei 5 elders, they know how to seek advantage and avoid disadvantage. Shajir-Ching Isho then looked at Kizaru. If there is nothing else, please disembark. Give you 3 days to prepare. After 3 days, I want to see what I want. When that time comes, I will give it to people and get the goods in the other. Hearing Shajir-Ching's unabashed expulsion order, Kizaru shrugged and disappeared on the boat as a beam of light. Go home. With an order from Shajir-Ching, the ship, which was built like the Sha, went to the 9-Snake Island. Things are starting to get difficult. The development of Shitong has exceeded our expectations. Mariajoy, on the throne of the sky, a person sighed like this, and there was some helplessness in his voice. Beneath him, the Gorosei 5 elders fell on their knees. Master Yimu, send troops to get rid of that guy now. Otherwise, give him a little more time, and he won't lose his tail. The blonde Gorosei 5 elders spoke up and proposed to encircle and suppress Shajir-Ching now. Are you sure you can succeed? Hearing their words, Yimu's eyes moved, and his eyes were as sharp as falcons, which sent chills down their spines. And this question, let alone, really asks Gorosei 5 elders. The current Shajir-Ching is more powerful than the original rocks. Coupled with the Whitebeard pirates, they didn't do anything out of the ordinary, and the Gorosei 5 elders are already burning high incense. Not to mention the 2 pirate groups that could threaten them, the 100 Beasts, and the Bigumum pirates have just been hammered by each other. At the moment Marine is still recovering, it is difficult to get them done. The final result is bound to be a lose-lose. And they don't want to do things that benefit the fishermen. What's more, the Revolutionary Army is still eyeing it. The situation of their marine and the world government is not very good. Nevertheless, we still have to find a way to restrain them and make them a headache for a while. Yimu said this, he can't sacrifice the big killer now. What's more, Tianwang is not so easy to use. Hearing this, Gorosei 5 elders immediately told IM about Sengoku's plan. Yimu pondered for a while after hearing the words, and then said, no, it doesn't necessarily need to be half-truths. Imam's eyes lit up, it was a fierce murderous intent. Just give him his real information, Vivi cheats in key places. In this way, the most real thing is that even the blood pupil can't see any flaws. I heard that Shui Tong is not looking for the historical text of the fourth road sign, then we will satisfy him. With our technology, it shouldn't be difficult to create a piece of historical text. At that time, we will release the information of the historical text of the four road signs gathered by the Summer Chamber of Commerce, which will inevitably cause bloody storms on the sea, and the heroes will compete. As the most dazzling existence, the Summer Chamber of Commerce will become the target of public criticism. Also, send troops to help Bigu Mum, the beast pirates, we need their troops now. In this way, we have held back Shazher Qing's footsteps and created opportunities for our own development. 2 years, only 2 years. After we regain our strength, we don't need to be so afraid of Shitong and his Summer Chamber of Commerce. In addition, the research and development of SSG is about to succeed. When the time comes, with these things, we will unite the power of the beasts and the Bigu Mum pirates. His blood pupil and his Summer Chamber of Commerce are no longer a threat to us. The Gorosei 5 elders couldn't help but give a thumbs up when he heard I.M.'s words. They did think about this method, but they didn't think about Yimu so deeply. It's a little strange that the world government is so good at talking this time. On the way back, Shazher Qing was lying on the bow of the boat, with her head on her head, thinking in her heart. Gorosei 5 elders had such good talk, they wouldn't be the Gorosei 5 elders. How to say, it is also an old monster who has lived for hundreds of years, and has controlled the world for hundreds of years, so it is so easy to compromise. There is a conspiracy. Shazher Qing thought this way. Besides, I have already begun to meddle in the historical text of road signs, it is impossible for them to have no reaction at all. It seems that they are holding back their big moves. Shazher Qing's sense of smell is keen. This is what he thought out with his own sense of crisis at the height of familiarity with the plot. Don't look at how powerful he is now, but he is more and more trembling. The number of think tanks under his command is increasing. No way, the more power, the more disputes and struggles. It is impossible for him to care about everything, so for the normal operation of the power, it is necessary to recruit intelligent talents. After all, his current civil forces, even the Revolutionary Army, must give their thumbs up. The Revolutionary Army uses speeches to move with emotion, understand it with reason, and win over those oppressed kingdoms. And he, Shazher Qing, directly used interests and means to subtly change the kingdom, making them the beneficiaries of his own model. As for the world government, damn it. With the blessing of Shazher Qing and the protection of the Sha Chamber of Commerce, Tenryubido, pirates, thieves, anyway, all unstable factors are basically unrelated to them. They can develop peacefully without worrying about being affected or hurt. Moreover, the price paid is smaller than joining the world government, so why not do it? Back at Nine Snake Island, Shazher Qing and Hancock spent half a day together before being interrupted by a sudden phone bug message. What, the Golden Lion invited me? After getting the news from Intelligence Minister Caribou, Shazher Qing's brows furrowed into a word, Chuan. Chapter 814, The Golden Lion's Invitation. What is the Golden Lion doing? What is the invitation for me to discuss? Shazher Qing had to leave Nine Snake Island and go to Sky Island under Hancock's resentful eyes. Sky Island. President, this is an invitation sent by Golden Lion, please go to a meeting. Caribou flattered and handed an invitation to Shazher Qing. Shazher Qing took it over and opened it up. Except for a permanent record pointer, there was nothing else inside. Well, I'm afraid I'll see what it is. Shazher Qing sighed, then, teasing his 2-year-old daughter, drove a boat to the stronghold of Golden Lion. This daughter was born 2 years ago, not long after Shazher Qing traveled to the Naruto world. The first half of the Great Route, Tagumura. This is an island with all kinds of huge creatures. It is still the same as the primitive society, with all kinds of prehistoric civilizations and monsters. Shajur-Ching could see the huge and outrageous monsters on the island from far away. One by one is like a small mountain, with firm muscles and exuding a rather violent atmosphere. Of course, there are quite a few large monsters, and there are also many relatively normal ones. Moreover, they are quite aggressive and fierce. Shajur-Ching saw a mantis with his own eyes, and instantly killed a squid monster that could kill a medium-sized sea king. And this mantis died at the foot of a rhino. And the rhino was torn to shreds by a two-headed tiger more than 30 meters tall. Then, a fierce zebra with a height of 50 meters smashed the rib of the tiger in one breath, and lost. I'm afraid that Vice Admiral like Momonga Silver comes to this island, so be careful. Seeing that because he was afraid of the breath on his body, he was crawling on the ground and grinned. The beasts who were ready to attack at any time, Shajur-Ching thought in his heart. These monsters on this island are probably more aggressive than those on Winter Island, even more ferocious. Boom! At this moment, a dull collision sound came. I saw a huge phantom flashed past Shajur-Ching like this, and blasted the air like a cannonball into the mountain range. It was a large ant more than 60 meters tall, and its whole body was as crystal clear as white jade. But at the moment, it looks terrible. But it has such a powerful aura. This big ant is a bit interesting. But although this ant is miserable, its breath is strong, comparable to the fourth gear Luffy in the original book. It should be regarded as the strongest monster that Shajur-Ching has ever seen, except for the Sea Emperors who can drag Noah's Ark in Dragon Palace City. Hey, it's still not enough. A monster of this level is still not enough to practice. At this time, a big man came out from the front of the ant, exuding a ghost-like horror. Those huge muscles looked desperate. Then, as if he saw Shajur-Ching, he grinned. Isho, Shajur-Ching, it's just in time, just let me see if my skills have fallen in the past few years. He stepped on the ground with great excitement and rushed in front of Shajur-Ching, just punched out. This punch is unpretentious. But it can smash large pieces and change the color of the world. The air was completely blurred into a particle. Shajur-Ching sighed helplessly. Emission hockey covered it, and it was also a punch. Boom! The fluctuations caused by the collision between the two are like Mars hitting the Earth. That terrifying power, if the two directly channeled the power into the deep sea along the island's foundation, the island would have been torn apart. The gust of wind generated by the collision blew off the surrounding trees more than 100 meters away, bending them. Let the surrounding beasts flee in terror, not daring to stay at all. Buzz! The continuous strength of the two men made the air hum, and the surrounding sea was also undulating, and the tsunami continued. I said, this is not a good meet and greet, bullet. Shajur-Ching's arm bulged, and a stronger force burst out, and the big man, the bullet, was shaken back. You guy, sure enough, you're getting more and more terrifying, and your strength is getting bigger and bigger. Bullet stopped, only feeling his arms shaking in Vivi. There's no way to fight against you, the top powerhouse is in the sea, and don't let yourself become terrifying. Shajur-Ching shook his numb right hand, and couldn't help but sigh. You guy's strength has more than doubled from the beginning. What a terrible physical quality. Bullet, just the fighting technique is already tyrannical and desperate. Not to mention the tyrannical armament hockey plus the perverted defense, that is, emission hockey, which is not enough to destroy the world, and basically can't hurt him. It is an enhanced version of Jack. It's still not as good as you, a monster with such a thin body, yet possessing such terrifying power. Bullet Isho, business mutual support. Hearing this, Shajur-Ching's head was full of black lines. Where is the skinny? He glanced at his arm, but Xiaowen had a thick mouth, and then looked at Bullet's arm that seemed to be able to run a horse. Well, it was a little thin. Golden Lion has come up with something again, and suddenly asked me to visit. Shajur-Ching entered the topic and asked Bullet what he should know. Isn't this island right? These terrifying monsters were all weak like chickens back then. Hearing Bullet's words, Shajur-Ching couldn't help frowning. he's still researching the gigantic berserker potion. The effects of his violent potions are much stronger than before. Of course, all this is not the main thing, he has obtained more in-depth research results. After listening to Bullet's words, Shajur couldn't help but start to be a little curious. More in-depth research results. Bullet hugged his chest and grinned, "You'll know when you go." Watching him play dumb riddles, Shajur had to be patient and go to the depths of the island. There, some pirates have already gathered, and Golden Lion is meeting and greeting them. When seeing Shajur coming, Golden Lion immediately showed excitement, and the surrounding pirates also showed awe. "Golden Lion, what the hell are you doing? You specially invited me here, but don't let me down." Shajur jokingly said that he was also a little curious. Golden Lion specially invited him to come. What was the achievement? "Jia haha, don't worry, you'll find out later." Seeing Shajur appearance, Golden Lion couldn't help but smile proudly. Then, another heavyweight pirate ship arrives. I knew the Golden Lion wouldn't miss him. Looking at the pirate flag with a white crescent beard on a black background and the hull of a whale looking like a whale, Shajur couldn't help shaking his head and said helplessly, "Who else can use this kind of pirate flag? Of course, is Whitebeard on the Moby Dick." Chapter 815 Devil Laws. "Cholera, what a good thing you have made again." Whitebeard's majestic voice came, and Whitebeard, exuding majestic blood, came to the island. "Jia haha, you will find out later." Golden Lion swayed everyone's taste. "Yo, your kid is there, Cholera, I knew this kind of thing couldn't be without you." Seeing Shajur as well, Whitebeard suddenly laughed again. "No way, he specially invited me to come, so I can't help but come." Shajur and Whitebeard walked towards the Golden Lion's stronghold together. Shajur glanced at it, and the people who could be invited were basically pirates with a bounty of over 100 million. Inviting so many people, are you planning to recruit these people directly? Shajur thought so in her heart. Everyone followed Golden Lion to a square. In that square, there was a huge red cloth covering something, and there was a frightening aura emitting. "Jia haha, what I will show you next is my greatest achievement during this period of time. Get ready, everyone." Golden Lion had a mysterious expression on his face, and then, with a wave of his hand, the lightweight fruit ability was activated, and the red cloth was lifted. Immediately, that thing appeared in front of everyone. This is a giant sitting on the ground. To be precise, it was Oz the demon. Looking at Oz, who was covered in blue and looked like a corpse, Shajur said, "Your achievement is this Oz's corpse." Golden Lion couldn't help laughing out loud. "Of course not, you are optimistic." Golden Lion takes out a launcher thing and taps it. Bang! Seeing that Oz suddenly opened his eyes, green light lit up in his eyes, and stood up amidst the sound of gold and iron rubbing. Moreover, there was a terrifying aura that made many people in the room discolored, causing them to sweat. "Oz the devil isn't that strong. Golden Lion, what have you done?" Shajur looked at him, a little curious. "This Oz has more breath than the previous ant. Maybe even stronger." "Jia haha, you won't know if you try it yourself." Hearing this, Golden Lion laughed proudly, and was faintly provocative. "Aren't you afraid that I will hit him too hard and destroy him?" Shajur couldn't help saying, "Isho, this Golden Lion is quite confident." "Your Excellency Shajur, there will be no problem, feel free to test it. This is my proud work." At this time, a voice came from behind Shajur. I saw a man dressed as a clown who appeared to be a scientist, speaking in a rather strange tone. "Oh, then I'll give it a try." The moment the words fell, Shajur disappeared in place. Everyone looked quickly, but they saw that he had appeared in front of Oz, and the force of a fist rolled out as if shaking the sky. "Oz X2, start." The scientist said softly, and then Oz suddenly lit up all over his body, and then he punched him. Boom! The punch of Shajur, who was able to crack the mountain range with one punch, was blocked by Oz without injury. It's interesting. Shajur-Ching stepped back immediately, but Oz's eyes lit up red. Then, two brazen rays of light were projected, and the power contained in them made Shajur-Ching's small body tighten. It's interesting. Shajur-Ching launched Kami-E to dodge, but before it landed, Ozzy's chest suddenly opened, and the honeycomb-like barrel stretched out. Then, a heavy and violent energy converged. Then, with an extremely rhythmic rhythm, it turned into an energy bomb to besiege Shajur-Ching. Hey, that's a bit of cheating. Shajur-Ching's observation hotkey told him that all his escape routes had been figured out, and he would suffer if he continued to hide. He immediately pulled out the flaming fire sword and covered hotkey, then turned his swordsmanship and waved it away. Boom! All the attacks were bounced off by Shajur-Ching, but Shajur-Ching couldn't help smacking his tongue. The power of this energy bomb was so strong that his arms were numb. Boom boom boom. The energy bombs that were blasted out all exploded in the seawater. Suddenly, the entire island trembled violently, and quite a few pirates were knocked to the ground. Their faces were quite surprised. But is this the end? Not at all. Oz, who I saw, took a heavy step and bullied Shajur-Ching, who was walking on the moon step in the sky, like a cannonball. Then, another punch. To be able to do this is really arrogant. Boom boom boom. Shajur-Ching quickly swung his long sword and had a violent confrontation with Oz, sparks flying everywhere. It is extremely surprising that Oz was able to keep up with Shajur-Ching. At least for a short time, that's it. Even Shajur-Ching's sword could not break Oz's defense. This giant is a bit strong. I have a feeling of seeing a giant pacifist. Whitebeard couldn't help squinting, a little surprised. The rest of the pirates were watching intently. A pirate like Shajur-Ching couldn't take Oz in a short period of time. This Oz's strength is a bit tyrannical. At this moment, a giant axe suddenly appeared in Oz's left arm. I saw Oz's swaying tiger, making the air roar, deafening, and the fight with Shajur-Ching, who took the opportunity to land, became more intense. Oz, who is 50 meters tall, he was dealt with. It turned out to be taller than this, and Shajur-Ching, who is only 1.7 meters tall, actually fought back and forth. Shajur-Ching was more and more surprised by his quick reaction, strong strength, and high agility. He threw a sword away from Oz, then looked at the golden lion. You got the technology of a pacifist. For this huge fighting robot, the first thing that popped into his mind was a pacifist. But the strength of this devil Oz, I am afraid that Katakuri also has to be dignified. Gia haha, that's not really, but it's almost the same. How, isn't it great? Shiki looked at Shajur-Ching, eager to get Shajur-Ching's approval. Yes, there are such devastating weapons, plus your giant animals. If you can develop a stable version of this weapon and achieve mass production, you will be truly invincible. Shajur-Ching is also generous with praise. Gia haha, we will start mass production in the next step. The Majin Oz is my strongest weapon. Although it cannot be mass-produced, I have mastered the principle. It is not difficult to develop a stable version and mass-produce it. And, in the next step, I will mass-produce more other types of combat robots. After receiving the praise from Shajur-Ching, Golden Lion seemed quite proud. Chapter 816 Alliance, Golden Lion Shiki. The world and the marine are really going to have a headache now. This sea has become more turbulent. Looking at the proud Golden Lion Shiki, Shajur-Ching approached Whitebeard's side and said with a faint gaze. Cholera, the new era and new situation, it's really not bad. Whitebeard's laughter was earth-shattering and powerful, and the sound directly caused the frenzy of the surrounding sea, causing a tsunami. The surrounding pirates couldn't stop breathing, and their faces were full of horror. The strongest man of the last era is well deserved. That's it, come, let's have a banquet. Golden Lion gathered so many people this time. On the one hand, Shajur-Ching and Whitebeard looked at their achievements. The second is to reorganize these invited pirate groups. He Golden Lion is about to start growing his team. Jia haha, from now on, the world has one more tyrant. That is my Golden Lion. Golden Lion can be said to be unprecedentedly happy today, and he was called a slut at the banquet. Shajurching was neither happy nor sad, and even had other associations in his heart. For example, with the Golden Lion Alliance, to carry out business cooperation. Battle droids, that sort of thing, were never unique to Golden Lion alone. Also inside his summer chamber of commerce. And, there are quite a few uses. However, the strength is not as good as this robot from Golden Lion. Not even pacifists can match. Technology is the primary productive force. This sentence is the truth. Shajurching thought about this in her heart. Except for the backbone and those fleet captains and fleet elites, the rest of his subordinates are not very strong. At most, they can only play their prestige in the first half of the Great Route, and the average bounty is around 50 million Baileys. But in the real fight, even the 48 million Bailey member with the lowest bounty, the 80 million pirate bounty, would be very difficult to kill him. Why? Because they all have battle suits. This is technology from Germa 66. Although they are only simple versions, the boosting effect is still good, and they don't even need to go through too hard training to have good strength. This is the power of technology. Shajurching also needs the power of technology. You want to work with me? After 3 rounds of wine, after everyone had eaten and drank enough, the Golden Lion heard what Shajurching said after completing the integration of the forces. Not bad, how is it, Shiki-senpai, think about it. In today's new era, cooperation can only achieve win-win results. The previous one is no longer popular. Shajurching said with a smile that Golden Lion would agree. What if I don't promise you? Golden Lion dug a hole for Shajurching. Then forget it, can I still put a knife on your neck and ask you to agree? Shajurching said without hesitation, strong melons are not sweet. Hearing Shajurching's words, Golden Lion smiled, very hearty, okay, then it's settled. Golden Lion would agree. After all, it would be a pity to let such a huge partner as Shajurching not cooperate. Furthermore, Golden Lion is helpless because he is running out of money. To manufacture these weapons and continue researching them requires money. And Shajurching happened to be rich. In this case, cooperation is a matter of course, why not do it? Shajurching is right, the previous one-man model is no longer feasible in this era. Now is the age of cooperation. Shiki-senpai is wise. Listening to Shiki agreed to cooperate, Shajurching also flattered a little. I thought to myself, it seems that staying in Impel Down for a few years is not a bad thing. Then, under the witness of Whitebeard and others, Shajurching and Golden Lion began to negotiate. With Whitebeard as a guarantee, both Shajurching and Golden Lion Shiki clearly stated their bottom line at the gate of opening. Therefore, the negotiation quickly became harmonious, and within an hour, the cooperation was completed. The sea is going to be even more turbulent because of us. Next, I don't know how many people will stay in the end. Before leaving, Shajurching, Whitebeard, Golden Lion, and Bullet strolled on the wide port and left such a sentence. After returning to Nine Snake Island, Shajurching panicked again. Helpless, I had to start to temper my swordsmanship, quietly waiting for the arrival of the people from the world. He can't wait to go to the final place now. The conditions are already in place, so naturally there is nothing to hesitate. Maybe the only unpleasant thing is that Tenryubito. It's really annoying to be yelling at him every day. Although, the prison environment is indeed a little less interesting. Waiting, just after the representative of the world government arrived, it ended quietly. You are here. If you don't come again, your Lord Tenryubito will go crazy. Shajurching laughed out loud, and the face of the representative of this world's government suddenly turned gloomy. What have you done to Saint Dujavel? This represents considerable anger, and scolded, you better ensure that Saint Dujavel is not abused, otherwise, you will not have your good fruit to eat. Shazher Ching sneered and glanced at him contemptuously. Are you sure, young man? Then, all the backbones behind him released a trace of breath. Immediately, the representative of Jean was bloodless and had difficulty breathing. Our place is Longtan Tiger's Den, and even your Gorosei, 5 elders should be polite. You told me that you want me to look good. Where does the confidence come from? Shazher Ching glanced at it and asked with a smile like a smiling tiger. The first move in negotiation is to kill the spirit of the other party. This means that one person is weak, and the guards are still outside. How can he cope with such a scene? And he can't say that he is ugly. If nothing else, let's get started. I don't think you're a procrastinator either. Shazher Ching also became serious all of a sudden. The killing of prestige has been completed, and then it is time to talk about serious things. Have you brought what I want? Shazher Ching looked quite serious. Of course, our world government is not the same as you, not honest. This represents a cold snort, arrogant. Immediately, the two parties exchanged what the other wanted. Shazher Ching took the top secret information handed over by the representative, and then read it carefully. And Tenryubito and this representative have left. One-handed people, one-handed goods. Chapter 817 plans can't keep up with changes. After all, there is a circle of guards from the world's government and a group of newspaper reporters outside here, so many pairs of eyes are watching. This integrity Shazher Ching must have. Otherwise, the signboard of the Summer Chamber of Commerce will be smashed. Let's study the authenticity of this information. Shazher Ching always felt that the world's palace was too good to say this time. Just a Tenryubito made them succumb, which is really unreasonable. There must be a conspiracy they can't imagine. Robin, what do you think? The person with the most say is naturally the historian Nicole Robin. Currently, there are no loopholes, but it's a bit unusual. It's a bit too simple. Nicole Robin frowned, looking at the content on it. Everything seemed quite normal, but it felt a little wrong when you savored it carefully. Then study it carefully. The final land is not so easy to reach, don't worry. Naturally, Shazher Ching couldn't study anything, and professional things should be left to professional people. Although he didn't know whether the secrets above were true or not, he did feel a little bit of an eye-opener. Speaking of which, what should I do with this Valdo? It's a good fighting force. Shazher Ching touched his chin and thought. Back then, the world government didn't talk to him, so this matter was put on hold. And no one mentions it now, and Valdo is just forgotten. Let's see if it can be incorporated, otherwise, we can only imprison him and punish him slowly, or let him work as a coolie to punish him. For Waldo, there are only 2 or 3 punishments. Either get incorporated or continue to punish. That's all. Marine, Golden Lion, Whitebeard, and Shazher Ching met. They also formed a pirate group. When Akainu learned the news from the intelligence officer, his brows furrowed. The new world of the 5 emperors is already chaotic enough, and now there is a Golden Lion Shiki. No doubt, the sea will be even more chaotic. These bastards are really tenacious enough. Akainu said with a murderous look on his face, and at the same time, his headache became more and more serious. Golden Lion Shiki, this is not an easy role. As the first pirate to successfully escape from a belly prison, his name was built on the shame of Impelton Prison. Because of his existence, the impregnable walls of Impelton Prison are no longer so perfect. What a new era of chaos. Akainu once again began to regret taking over the position of marshal. These days, he was about to worry about his hair turning white. What? The Summer Chamber of Commerce has already received the news of the final land, and there is only a 4th stone tablet with the historical text of the road sign. Can Shazher Ching become One Piece, King of Pirates? Flying Admiral Golden Lion Shiki re-established the pirate group and participated in the game of the world situation. The Whitebeard Pirates, the Flying Pirates, and the Summer Chamber of Commerce have reached a cooperation, ready to subvert the sea. While Akainu was still worrying about the Golden Lion, the sea was completely boiling. The situation became more and more tense because of these three breaking news. Even the Gorosei, 5 elders, were shocked by this sudden turn of events. What is called planning then change. Now this is what happened to them. Good method, worthy of being Shui Tong Shajirqing, really good method. The blonde Gorosei, 5 elders, said with a low look. It just happened so coincidentally, I am afraid it is a coincidence, and no one will believe it. Based on what they know about Shajirqing, I believe this is his counterattack against their actions. They originally planned to know the secrets of the world by spreading the news that the Lord of Summer had obtained the final land, to become a word like One Piece, King of Pirates. Let the eyes of the entire sea be placed on Shajirqing, and give them a chance to develop vulgarity. As a result, Shajirqing launched Wang Zan directly when their plan was just launched. Golden Lion Shiki established the pirates, his Summer Chamber of Commerce, Whitebeard Pirates, and Golden Lion's Flying Pirates, and thus reached a cooperation. In this way, who would dare to provoke them on the sea? Their plan was completely ineffective. Shajirqing is here. Ah, it's really a fluke this time. Just after Golden Lion invited me to attend that banquet, the World Palace did this. Shajirqing looked at the report in his hand. Rao was used to seeing strong winds and waves, but he couldn't help but be taken aback by the calculations of the world's government. I knew there was something wrong with that intelligence, but why did Robin say that the content of that intelligence is 99% true? At this point, Shajirqing was quite puzzled. He never thought that IM would be so willing, so generous, that 99% of the information given to him is true. There are only a few places where there is a slight way out, there are some unknown but deadly ambiguities. No wonder Shajirqing thought so. Just like a rich man, it is impossible to tell a thief the location information of his various treasures. But that's what he did. If Shajirqing knew this, he might admire it from the bottom of his heart. The ruthless Yimu deserves to be a person who does great things. The turbulent sea, just after the Golden Lion established the pirates, is their shocking bounty. Flying Admiral Golden Lion Shiki, with a bounty of 4.7 billion Bailey. Douglas Bullet, Descendants of the Devil, with a bounty of 2.2 billion. Special Fighter, Oz, the Relocator, has a bounty of 1.5 billion. Genius Scientist, Dr. Indigo, with a bounty of 78 million Bailey. Red Orangutan, Scarado, with a bounty of 80 million Bailey. Killfish Man Chitakimo, bounty 98 million Bailey. Captain of the First Fleet, Giant Warrior Tower Ball, with a bounty of 417 million Bailey. Second Fleet Captain, the Demon Swordsman Van Klein, has a bounty of 381 million Baileys. Captain of the 18th Fleet, Tilfer Jake, has a bounty of 110 million Bailey. The entire pirate group has a total of more than 4,000 people and is divided into two parts, the headquarters and the branch. Although it seems that the strength is a little worse than that of the 5 emperors, according to the information, Golden Lion also has a group of huge violent beasts, which are quite powerful. No one dares to ignore this. Therefore, the people on the sea call the Golden Lion the 6th Emperor. Chapter 818 Turbulent Situation. His power has surpassed Shichibukai and other pirate groups. Only the name of the Emperor of the New World can be worthy of his status. In this regard, the new situation of the 6 Emperors Shichibukai Marine World Government, Revolutionary Army was born. In addition to this situation, there is a group of people who are trying to break this balance and wait for a new stage in history. They are Supernova 11. Just half a year after the establishment of the Golden Lion Pirates, their group of rising stars also launched their own operations. The former has defeated Shichibukai Guanez, and becomes the new Shichibukai's Death Surgeon, Trafalslo, on the condition of 1,000 hearts. Then there is the challenge provocation of the Bigu Mam Pirates, and defeat the Monkey Roge of one of the Desert Will stars, Snagger. In the middle, there are also the pirate alliances of Eustace Kid, Hawkins, and Apu who successfully challenge the Beast Pirates. as well as marine trader X-Drake who joined the Beast Pirates, and Capone Beige, a gangster who joined the Big Pirates. Times are getting more and more violent. The monsters of the old era and the evildoers of the new era are all on the sea and have started their own operations. In an era of unprecedented chaos, people's cognition is being refreshed every day. The chaotic level of the times, there are riots every day. It is almost beyond the control of either party. Every day, a large number of people are fleeing. This era, this sea, can no longer give them a sense of security. But even escaping to the end of the sea is useless. Therefore, they can only look for a strong shelter. The first to bear the brunt of course is the Summer Chamber of Commerce and the Whitebeard Pirates. Second, of course, is the Red Hair Pirates. Finally, there's Shichibukai, and the rest of the Emperor-level pirates. Of course, not all countries do this. The allied countries of the world government do not move at all. After all, they have enough troops to protect themselves. But there are too many non-joined countries in this world. Countless. Therefore, no matter whether Xia Zhiqing resisted or not, his Xia Chamber of Commerce power skyrocketed a lot again. At the same time, it also brought him a lot of management talents. This makes Xia Zhiqing quite excited. Of course, what excites him most is that Hancock is pregnant. Congratulations, Hancock, you are pregnant. The undead doctor was diagnosed by Dr. Kurha. Really, the concubine is finally pregnant. Ah, the concubine is so happy. Hearing this news and knowing that he was about to become a mother, Hancock rolled on the bed excitedly. The shy face is red and bright, extremely attractive. Hee, you have to get ready next. Pregnancy is not an easy thing. Dr. Kuleha glanced at Xia Zhiqing, who was on the side, and said with a narrow smile. Next, I'll take care of you. No one is better at protecting the fetus than the person in front of him, and Xia Zhiqing completely trusted it. After all, Anna's pregnancy was taken care of by her. This is the old man's responsibility, but you are also not lightly responsible. You need company during pregnancy, you have to be prepared. This is not her Hancock's business alone. Dr. Kuleha warned with a very serious expression. Xia Zhiqing nodded and said yes. Chopper, prepare to supplement blood to relieve miscarriage and relieve anxiety. It should be available soon. In terms of medical skills, Dr. Kurha ranked first, and only a few people such as Kukaros dare to say that they are not inferior. Even Chopper can only be called second. Although Xia Zhiqing is also a doctor himself, this is the first time he has experienced pregnancy. He chose to leave this to a professional to do it. And the members of the Summer Chamber of Commerce were even happier when they learned that Hancock was pregnant, and even boiled with excitement. They thought in their hearts, it's better to be a boy, so that they can inherit the foundation of the Summer Chamber of Commerce safely. Although Xia Zhiqing already has an eldest daughter, and a considerable number of members recognize her as the successor, most members still prefer that the successor is a man. And the news of Hancock's pregnancy also caused a lot of shocks in the sea. The president of the Summer Chamber of Commerce, the descendant of Xia Zhiqing, one of the 6 emperors, it is difficult not to attract attention. After all, this is an existence born with a golden key. But the surprise may be far more than that. When Anna brought her eldest daughter, Natsuno Sakura, to see Hancock, Kurha, a keen doctor, found out that she was also pregnant. What? Anna is pregnant too? When Kurha told him the news, he was a little stunned by the sudden surprise. Ha ha ha, good, double happiness, tell all members of the Chamber of Commerce, 5 times the salary today, and a special holiday. The overjoyed Xia Zhiqing held the 2 girls and kissed them fiercely several times, and even took Xia Zhiqing without escaping. Long live the president! And when they heard the news of the salary increase and the holiday, all the members were boiling. Excited emotions, almost to disperse the sky. My body is finally normal, it's not easy. Xia Zhiqing sighed in his heart. At the beginning, he and the 2 women took turns to sow seeds, but it was completely ineffective. He once doubted whether he was useless. Later, the system told him that it was because of the defect of the wheel eye, which caused his reproductive function to be hindered. He had to go to Naruto World to perfect Sharingan. Fortunately, this perfection came back, and the effect came out. The two women's bodies reacted immediately. Stay well to raise the baby, and don't do dangerous things. Do you understand? Shajur-Ching looked at the two women as if looking at two bodhisattvas, and wished they could be sacrificed. There's no need to care so much. It's just the beginning. What should I do? It won't be affected. Okay, leave it to the old man. You should go to manage your Chamber of Commerce. Clea directly chased people away. Shajur-Ching is here, it's the trouble at home. Well, Shajur-Ching can only take Shajur-Reading and leave depressed. Daddy was disliked abandoned giggling. Seeing this scene, the 2-year-old Shajur-Reading smiled happily. But her eyes are a pair of pink one-hooked jade writing round eyes. In this matter, even Shajur-Ching did not expect that Shajur-Reading would inherit his bloodline, and then, born to open the wheel of writing. My Shajur-Ching's bloodline doesn't seem to be low in talent. Looking at Shajur-Reading, Shajur-Ching's problem of insufficient talent was solved. Shajur-Ching has begun to be a little curious, what will happen when her children grow up in the future? Cool, your kid can be considered to have descendants, and the old man can also hold a grandson. Whitebeard teased little Shajur-Reading with a loving face, smiling very happily. Chapter 819 Fireman Shanks. And Shajur-Reading is also very sticky to Whitebeard, not afraid of his majestic aura, climbing up and down on him. It's like thinking of Whitebeard as a giant climbing ladder. In the future, there will be more grandchildren. Dad, you have to be mentally prepared. Shajur-Ching couldn't help Isha when he heard this, and his expression was also very happy. What a comfortable situation for 3 generations to live together. Has the problem of future generations been solved? It's a troublesome thing. Marine, Akainu frowned tightly, with a very bad tone. Since he became a marshal, his brows have never been parted. So much so that he looks like a little old man now. Obviously he is only in his 40s. Thinking of this, Akainu once again regretted taking over the marshal. When I think of myself working so hard here, I'm conscientious and diligent in handling affairs. However, Sengoku and Garp stayed at the back with ease, eating senbei and drinking tea with Garp, chatting and spanking, and when life was so unsatisfactory, he would envy him for a while. Leave the good Marine Admiral and don't do it. What is the marshal here? It's just death. Alas. Thinking of this, Akainu couldn't help sighing again, and then plunged into the pile of affairs. On the Moby Dick. Yo, Shanks, rare guest, why do you have time to come to Daddy's place today? Shajur-Ching was watching Shajur-Reading and Whitebeard having fun when she suddenly saw the red-haired Shanks who came with a large wine bottle. It shouldn't be a strange thing to come and visit. Shanks Sunshine Isho, like coming to Whitebeard to catch up, can't see anything wrong. But Shajur-Ching didn't believe that a busy person like Shanks, who took time to visit, just came to Whitebeard to catch up. He's not so busy. Then it looks like I'm having a good time today, and the wine smells pretty good. Shajur-Ching, hee Isho, sat down on the fence next to him, watching the redhead sitting in front of Whitebeard. Seeing this scene, the captains on the Whitebeard ship couldn't help but squinted their eyes. How familiar this scene is. Back then, when Ace was caught, Whitebeard wanted to exhaust the strength of the entire pirate group and went to Marineford to rescue him. The red hair was like this. Alone, with good wine. Redhead, what do you want to discuss this time? It won't have anything to do with the riots of the times again. Marco spoke, still with a sleepy look, but his tone was quite serious. At first, the red hair came and had a fight with Whitebeard. Come today, maybe it will be repeated again. Ha ha ha, it's really been exposed all at once. Yes, the issue I want to talk about today is the issue of the riots of the times. After filling Whitebeard with red hair, his expression suddenly became serious. Stop, too, the sea is already quite chaotic. If the trouble continues, the sea will really be beyond your control. At that time, it will not be good for anyone. When Shanks said this, his eyes kept swept back and forth on Whitebeard and Shazher Ching. One of the important factors in the riots of the times is because of these two people. Especially Shazher Ching, the power has reached the first among pirates. His summer chamber of commerce has more than 300 islands and has a combat power of more than 5,000 people. There are 108 warships, 1,000 small warships, more than 5,000 transport ships, and more than 100,000 employees. There are 100,000 merchants and 78 kingdoms in the franchise. The annual income is comparable to the world government. Apart from him, none of the other 6 emperors have his strength. Move him, it will definitely cause time turmoil. Destroy him and the world will be chaotic. Shazher Ching's words and deeds are enough to make the world tremble. Really do it and wrestle with the world government. Hee, as long as the world government and Marine don't make trouble, we won't mess up either. After all, we have to protect ourselves. When Shazher Ching heard Isho, she took Shazher who was rushing over, put her chin against her small head, and said, "It's not easy for me to have such a big industry, Marine, the world government stares at me every day, so I disgusting." Quote. Look at what Marine did the other day. It's actually said that I have obtained the historical text of the 4 road signs, and I know the secret of the final land. Isn't this intentional to find it difficult for me? Besides, it doesn't matter if we talk about chaos or not. You see, I haven't done anything recently, but you just found me. Oh, this man, it's not good to be too famous. Shazher Ching had a rather aggrieved expression, looking at her red hair and wanting to vomit blood. Whether the world is chaotic or not is not up to you. You don't even look at how much energy you have. It is already so defiant by itself, and it has also united 2 other emperor-level pirate groups, so that no one can live. Can such a huge combination not be scary? And look at the places under my management, aren't they beautiful and stable? The hat of the riots of the times can't just be put on my head. Kaido, Lin, they are all responsible. Of course, for your sake, I don't have to continue to do this shit, but, other people, Marine, the world government may not agree. Shazher Ching looked at the red-haired firefighter and said, the existence of red hair is more like a way to reconcile the power of pirates and the power of Marine. He will not have a clear object of help, but his position will always be firm. His position is peace, maintaining peace. Who is weak to help who? Sometimes, he will also come forward when necessary to maintain the balance of the strength of the sea. Okay, I get it. I'll keep trying. With Shazher Ching's words, Shanks is relieved. His purpose of this trip has basically been achieved. Whitebeard is still at ease. This is an existence who wants to form a family, hegemony or something, he doesn't care much. Shazher Ching, that's it. Peace is more beneficial to Shazher Ching. After all, he is a businessman. Need peace to develop business better. Besides, Hancock and Anna are pregnant one after another, and during the recent period, he may have a little peace of mind. Otherwise, wouldn't it be to be complained? Of course, if someone asks for trouble, you can't blame me for provoking the riots of the times. Shazher Ching said something beforehand, and Shanks nodded. 2 days later, Maria Joy. What are you doing here? Redhead, you just left from Whitebeard, what are you going to talk to us about? Looking at Shanks who appeared in front of them, Gorosei, 5 elders squinted and asked sharply. I'm here for peace, Shanks replied with a determined expression. Oh, so, Whitebeard and the others promised not to make trouble. Hearing Shanks' words, Gorosei, 5 elders immediately reacted, and some couldn't believe it. Chapter 820 The Revolutionary Army is here. On the condition that you can't make a fool of yourself and mess with things. Their sincerity has come out, and whether it is peaceful, it's up to you. Shanks looked up at Gorosei, 5 elders, his eyes were burning, there was a terrifying light in it, and the air was twisted. Gorosei, 5 elders suddenly fell into thought. After a long time, the blonde Gorosei, 5 elders said, "Okay, then it's settled, both parties will not continue to do things, let the times settle down." Hearing their answers, the red-haired Shanks got up immediately and left here. I know that at times like this, he won't stand by, but just because he doesn't do anything, doesn't mean he doesn't do anything. Gorosei, 5 elders looked at each other and saw the sharpness in each other's eyes. If you really keep your promises, you'd be a fool. Peace, I love peace. Everyone loves peace. On a certain island, Shajur supported Shajur, who was sitting on his neck and riding a big horse, humming a little song happily. Shortly after the red-haired Shanks boarded the Moby Dick and headed to Mariajoy, the people at sea suddenly felt a sense of relief. It was as if something frightened them suddenly disappeared. But when you think about it, it doesn't seem like there's anything missing. Pirates are still rampant, and the kingdom is still doing nothing. Marine is still madly suppressing the pirates. At least every day, the sea is still full of artillery fire and fighting constantly. But that suffocating depressing breath just disappeared. Although I don't know why this oppressive breath disappeared. But it does not affect the public to breathe a sigh of relief and start looking forward to the future. Gradually, the people suddenly discovered something. The sound of artillery fire suddenly became smaller, less. No more fighting. There are also fewer pirate ships sailing on the sea. It seems that all of a sudden, the sea has changed from the turbulence of 10 days ago, people are panicked, and it has become peaceful and peaceful. Although not everyone understands what's going on. But people with a little insight understand that the reason why this situation occurs is related to the demise of the Summer Chamber of Commerce and the Whitebeard pirates. As soon as these two contemptuous kings withdrew, the situation immediately stabilized a lot. Marine will also be able to devote more energy to suppressing unrest in other areas. Peace, that's how it came. It seems that it is really thanks to those two. The birth of this new life really has an extraordinary effect. These two, not Whitebeard and Shajur. It's referring to Hancock and Anna's two mothers-to-be. All the stability and transformation came from the news that these two were pregnant. That's fine. The long-lost peace, even if it may be short-lived, at least has come. The people of the sea are easy to satisfy. Uris feels that he has been really unlucky recently. Where to go is not good. What is Sabayati Archipelago to be proud of? Well, it turned out to be the devil. With no room for resistance at all, it became his free labor force, and he had to help him find the historical text. All of a sudden, from the life of heaven, fell into hell. Originally, he should be infinite scenery. As an overlord from North Blue, his struggle history is only a little worse than his predecessor Hawkins. It can be said that I have come all the way, and I have experienced a lot of life and death battles, but I have gained a lot of things. From 12 million Baileys at sea to 128 million Baileys at Sabayati Archipelago, he is famous and his status has soared. He also included 8 pirate groups that once stepped on his hands. Status, fame, wealth, beauty, he got it all. In the first half of the Great Route, his fame can cause the kingdom to turmoil, the people to cry, and the children to stop crying. He thought that he could continue to be arrogant. But since stepping on the Sabayati Archipelago, everything has changed. As the strongest pirate force left on the island at that time, before he had time to show his prestige, he met the evil star. The evil star who shouldn't be here. The evil star who can crush him at will, Shajur. Like a temporary intention, he included himself and others, and became his free labor force to help him find the historical text of the unknown road sign. But this thing, no one knows where he is. Finding it this way is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Perhaps the only consolation is that Eustace Kidd, Hawkins, EPUB, who are supernovas, have also been caught as strong men. When he thought that the representatives of the new era were also arrested like them, when he was doing such drudgery, his heart suddenly became more balanced. This day, Ching was eating melons and swimming when suddenly a subordinate reported that someone wanted to see him. What does it look like? Ching asked without hesitation, who would come to him at this time. The visitor replied, it's a very young guy with a tall hat, but his weapon is a bit strange, it's a water hose. When he heard that the weapon was a water pipe, he already knew who it was. He couldn't help frowning. Why did this guy come to me? What does he want to do? He put down the melon in his hand and walked towards the lobby where the man was. When Ching arrived here, that person just looked up. Hello, Your Excellency Ching. Let me introduce myself, my name is Sabo. The person who came is naturally the second head of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo. Ching nodded to him and said, Your Excellency Sabo is no longer staying with Baldij. What are you doing here with me? What are you Revolutionary Army going to talk to me about? Hearing that Ching directly stated his identity, Sabo couldn't help being a little surprised. He and Ching had never met before. How did Ching know that he was the Revolutionary Army, and that he was the second head of the Revolutionary Army? Seeing Sabo's face full of surprise, Ching couldn't help laughing. Why, surprised? Sabo nodded. It was a little scary. Ching laughed and said, Don't forget who I am. I am the president of the Summer Chamber of Commerce. The footprints of the members of the Summer Chamber of Commerce are all over the world. Maybe there are people from our Summer Chamber of Commerce within your sphere of influence. There are always people who have seen you, and then they will give feedback to me. Hearing Ching's explanation, Sabo couldn't help feeling a little chill on his back. This intelligence ability is really scary. So, what is your purpose for this trip? Ching looked at Sabo and asked aloud. Our Revolutionary Army intends to unite with you to overthrow the world government. Sabo said his purpose. Ching was relieved when he heard it, and then sighed, I'm not interested in this kind of thing.